Our primary goals, like we've basically done all the missions. We've done all the things that the game like set out for me to do, but I can make my own things to do. One of those projects was the space elevator, but I would still like to automate a bunch of like resource like manufacturing. So making things with the chemistry labs and whatnot. And like, can I automate nanocarbon alloy from its basic constituents? That's sort of what I'm seeking to do here. And this game has been very interesting to say the least. I've learned a lot of new things. I've had a lot of fun with the rails. This last part here is going to be a lot of like sciencey, like logic, circuitry, logistic nonsense, which is going to be interesting in its own way, but it's definitely not going to be like the exploration side of the game that I had when I initially went into this. But you know what? We'll see what happens. I don't know when this series is going to end here for these streams. It's just a matter of when I decide that the game's just not fun or interesting anymore. So we'll see what that is. Like, I think the longest term goal I might have is make a large canister, as in one of these things, of every finished good in the game. So like I wouldn't be storing like large canisters of raw resources, but I would be storing like aluminum and aluminum alloy and nanocarbon alloy and like every final product type of resource that has a use in some way. So pretty much that's all of like that's all of the things that aren't like unsmelted materials, pretty much. And for stuff that's useful in both states, like organic and carbon, I would have a canister of both of them. I don't know if I'm going to get that far as this goes. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and show you all real quick the space elevator, just to maybe whet your appetite for the dumb shit that I'm not going to be doing in this stream. And meanwhile, I'm going to go ahead and check my notes and see if there was anything that I planned on doing here. And I'm just going to let the Celeste soundtrack play out, I think, and then I'll switch to the one I usually use for Astroneer. So this is what I was doing, I believe, for almost the entirety of my last Astroneer stream. I spent at least like 6 hours building this, and I think I did a little bit of stuff on that same stream beforehand. It turns out it is possible to do this. Like, anyone who's played this game and doesn't realize it, you can go between these planets without a rocket if you're brave enough and stubborn enough. And that's exactly what we did here. You can't build between them, but there is a way to build rails in space, and if anyone's interested in that, I'd highly recommend you look at the highlights for this channel. There's one that shows how I built this. How's it going? Oh yeah, this is how it's going, Danger. This is how things have been going with this game. So just enjoy the ride. Yeah, good job, camera. Okay, I have to put my hand back on the mouse because the camera just wants to do that. And this here is the part that took a really long time, because my god, these were hard to place. They don't really want you to build these without terrain under them. It's kind of weird. But you know, I found a way. This is in fact the space elevator. And there we go. We have now switched over to Silva. Literally the second I let go of my mouse, the fucking camera is like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you let go of your mouse? Would you like me to take over? And then it just starts flailing around in random directions. When do I mine an entire planet? Never. It would take way too long. I've done the math for this before. It would take like literal, real world like weeks to excavate a planet with the tools this game gives you. If you didn't crash it first, which you probably would. It's cosine's ladder. It's definitely not as straight as I'd like it to be up there. Like, it's very wavy and strange, but, you know, it worked, and I was not going to rebuild it. It was so hard to place those in space. I mean, this isn't crashing the game because it has no reason to. Well, there's nothing here that breaks the physics engine. I just crossed the boundary where the game thinks I'm on one planet instead of another. If I can't really send it. There we go. Alright, send that one back home. I'll just use the gateway. Unfortunately, the gateways are still faster, but I could technically transport cargo with this thing. I should have rode it to the gateway. That would have been the smart thing to do. I'm assuming this would be faster. I guess I'm technically racing it right now. I'm going to try to teleport back home. See if I get there before it does. You don't have to use fuel. The advantage of this is that technically this allows you to automate gathering resources from other planets and sending them back to your home base. Like, that's what this enables you to do, pretty much. Which is kind of neat. I might use it to get the zinc that's on Silva and just automate it. But other than that, I don't want to build one of these for every planet because it was extremely difficult and tedious, and I don't want to do that again. But you know, it was a fun little experiment, a nice proof of concept that it is in fact possible to do this, and I think I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to go back to the things I was going to focus on for these streams. Namely, just automation stuff. I think I'm on this one, Equator 3. It's buffering time. Is the bitrate upset, or is something else wrong? Because I mean, Twitch has been fucking buffering for me all day. Like, nothing new there. Or is your buffering starting to happen now? Because I think it varies depending on where you are when the servers decide to shit the bed. Okay, well, we appear to have made it before the train did. It'll show up, it'll make a sound when it arrives. It's not this one here. There's another train on its way. I just sent it forward. It should go over here eventually. The usual buffering. Okay, good. I mean, not good, but I would rather it was just the usual buffering and not something actually wrong with the stream. Okay, so here's something I glossed over, like, for a couple streams now, because I kept forgetting I did it. Is this right here. Nobody asked about this either. Nobody questioned this. People just acted like this was always here, or maybe nobody cared. But I want to show how I did this, because this is kind of an interesting base building technique. So pretty much, I have a tall platform with a marble on it, but tall platforms look like this. And this one's embedded in the ground, and it also is powered. And you can actually bury these platforms in the ground in order to achieve this effect. So what I'm going to do here is set one of these up real quick. Let me get it rotated correctly. I believe I have it set up like this. Put the light on it, grab a marble. The marble is just for... Just because. There's no reason for it to be here. I just have it here because I can. It's a good place to put them. I have nothing else to stick on top of these. And let me quickly show how I would go about building this thing. I kind of wanted to put one here anyway, so I would have two lights, one on either side. I might put more street lights further down there. Don't mind the Eagle Lander. It's just there because of reasons. Alright, so anyways, in order to do this, you pretty much need to dig a pit in the ground. It's probably obvious, but you need to carefully dig a pit in the ground. So I don't need this particular snail right now. I don't need the alignment mod. I want the boost mod and the narrow mod in order to go ahead and do this. Gonna need a couple leveling blocks. I should already have a soil canister in my inventory. And we'll use the inhibitor mod to do some painting later. Okay, so initially I want the narrow mod turned off. And what we're aiming for is putting it right about there. Like right in that pit that I'm creating here. So it's 1 deep. 2, the train just arrived, so I definitely, I beat it big time by using the teleporter. But the thing is you could transport cargo with these trains, which the teleporter cannot do. Theoretically, I wonder if you could attach like a one of these like probes or something to the train. The problem with attaching a probe to a train with a winch is that it would most likely snag on the rail posts and get knocked off. I don't know, that could be fun to look into later. I wonder if a storage or something could do that. Anyways, I'm trying to set up the spot where I'm going to place this. And I want this to be reasonably precise, so... Let me see if I can... Is it going to stay flat if I put it here? No, it is going to tilt, so we need to untilt it by widening the pit that I create. Unfortunately, this is like construction on roads in real life. There's going to be a closure here. We're going to put up a bunch of traffic signs. The road's going to be closed for like 3 months because I need to make a huge-ass pit in order to do this. It's unfortunately tedious, like most of the other building in this game, but it is very satisfying to see the final result when you do this. And then real quickly, I want to use the inhibitor mod in order to mark the spot on the terrain where I want to put this, which is going to be right here at that spot. So let me turn this off and smooth it a little bit more. And it should be perfectly flat now if I made this big enough. And then I want to align the feet of this thing. Let's see, what visual aids do I have available for this? Let me go ahead and do this here. I'm trying to create a flat surface so I could sort of visually align this thing. Like, I know I'm making a mess out of the rest of my build, but that's not a concern. I can fix that later. There we go, this is what I wanted. I'm just visually trying to get it at a 90-degree angle here. Or an orthogonal angle, I should say. Basically axis aligned. Just carefully drop that in the pit. Right there. And it tilted. So, hold on a second. Actually, I might be able to use the shadow that I'm casting in the pit to do this. Right there. Okay, it looks like it's perfectly straight, except it's actually down one too far. So let me bump it up a little bit. I didn't realize the pit was still 3 deep. I thought it was only 2. Don't mind me. Just you know, the usual. I gotta fuck something up, right? There's our marker. Once again, let's try to put this in there. I think it actually kept the correct rotation. Doesn't have to be perfect. I could always come back off stream and fix it later. Yeah, that should be correct. So let me just smooth this out. There's going to be a lot of weird hollow like cavities, and I'm going to clean those up when I actually pave over this when it's finished. For now, I'm just trying to get this into the correct spot. Once I lock it down, it's not going to move anymore. And that'll allow me to just fill in around it. Without a care in the world. There we go. Okay, what do we got? Does NASA pronounce NASA? No, I'd say it's NASA. That's how I pronounce it. Well, however you would spell the way I just pronounced it. Okay, so we have this in place, but it's not doing us a whole lot of good, and that's because these power cables are really shitty and short, and that's why this is here. So I'm going to make another hole in the road now, and we're going to put one of these in the center of the road. There's actually one of these platforms over here. Stuff doesn't like really lock to it or interact with it, but like 2 tiles underground, I have one of these medium platforms, and there's a cable, like this cable right here, is going into the ground, connected to that platform, and then connecting to this, and then this comes back out and it connects to this system over here. There is a redundant connection that I could set up over here, but I'd have to bridge this gap. And the point is, I want to have the ability to get power on both sides of the road without having to run power lines, which is essentially these rails, because the rails just connect to goddamn everything, and they make a huge mess, and I hate it. So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to connect it here. Basically underground cables. I wish this wasn't as tedious as it is, but you know, you make do with what you got in this game. Let me take all this crap off. Like, this is not like new technology or anything. Like, I know people have been doing this for a while, but I don't think I've personally done it in a base I've made until now. I need it to be down 2. That is not quite enough. So we'll go down a little more. Let's try this. Doesn't matter if I accidentally scuff that. Okay, that's down 2. I want it to be in the dead center of the road. And then just to do a... What the fuck? How did I place that up there? Just to do a quick test, let me see where this would connect. Okay, it would not quite make it, but I could put like a work light or another street lamp or something over here on the right. I hate how these rails do this. I could also move it slightly off center so that it reaches further, which might be the correct thing to do here. So let me try what it would look like if I moved it a bit. Do I have the boost mod on? I do. Did it a couple over. Devs, please give us extenders that don't suck. Thank you. I would much rather do this with extenders, but extenders are horrible. Because they force, like, one-directional power flow, which is almost never what you want. Okay, it'll let me go about this far. Is that enough? That is enough, so I could just put it off-center, like over here, and that should do it. So let's try that. It's going to be buried, so I don't care too much about how badly it's aligned. Inhibitor mod. And I want to align it to one of these saw teeth that I'm setting up here. I'm currently eyeballing it to see if I've got it like more or less at a 90-degree angle. This one doesn't matter as much because it's going to be buried anyways. I need to go one further in that direction, don't I? I wish these things weren't so finicky about sitting flat, but I do need it to sit flat or this is not going to work. Directional power flow. No, it doesn't simulate any actual power flow. It's directional power flow as in when you put an extender on something, the power can only go in one direction through that cable and it can't go back. And what this results in is every time you attach an extender to like a cable plug or something, it drains power from your base that can't be used anywhere else. It's weird. I don't know how exactly to explain it, but essentially if you have an extender attached to a storage and it's drawing like half of the power that's going through that particular platform, that half of the power, even if it's not being used on the other end of the extender, the rest of the base can't use it. It's very strange and I hate it, and I wish they were just like bi-directional. Like the reason I have these work lights here is because they're bi-directional. And they don't force power to go through in one direction. But otherwise, extenders will basically drain the power from your base because they'll pull it into an area that doesn't need all of it. And the game is too stupid to realize that. I don't believe they've changed them at all. I've kind of refused to use them, but I'm pretty sure they have not changed how extenders work, so I still think they're shitty. And I don't use them because of that. I wish the devs would just make the extenders actually useful for something, but oh well. Just use work lights and turn them off. I guess I could like technically bury work lights in the ground instead, or even not bury them and have like a little light poking out, but I think work lights are less stable because I can't lock them, so if I accidentally pick up a work light that was buried in the ground, it's just going to make a giant mess. And it's like, well, that sucks. Guess I got to redo that whole thing. So I'd rather avoid that if I can. So anyways, we've gone and set this up. We now have power extending across this, and I can now fill this pit in. We can finish our construction work here. So let me... Don't want the narrow mod. I actually want this snail again. And the boost mod. Don't want this. And I could just build over the top of this. Do I have the inhibitor? I do not. Okay. And then I could repaint it, and it'll just kind of sit there. Make sure I actually smoothed it, got all the spots I messed up. And then the reason I'm not doing this one yet is because I'm about to bury another table right here and connect it to the plant farm that I have. So let me go get another one of those storages. I keep calling these storages, they're platforms, whatever. Storages, platforms, same thing, don't care. I gotta go ahead and make another hole, which I could do with the existing crater that I've created here. So I should just be able to expand off of this one. Just do more road work. This really just feels like road work. The way I have to dig these oversized trenches in order to solve this basic problem. This is basically just road work. This game's realistic, didn't you know? Said I was doing automation. Yeah, I'm gonna do automation for some of my resources after this. I'm gonna look back at the shitty smelter setup I have right now and see if I could do better than what I currently have. Which I almost certainly can, because it's really bad right now. Like, the bar is not very high for cleaning up this mess on the other side of the ramp. Alright, I don't really care like what direction that arrow is facing, and the fact that it jittered like that means it is actually perfectly grid aligned right now. Or not grid aligned, but rotationally aligned. So I just gotta put it on the center of the road without rotating at all. For whatever reason, like some of the platforms, this one is doing it, will jitter like this when they are literally perfectly aligned to one axis. I don't know why. They just do, and it's nice when it happens because it allows me to visually confirm that I did it correctly. It ultimately doesn't matter either because this is all going to be buried in the dirt, but you know, I like things to look pretty. And I like to know that they're pretty even when you can't see them. Alright, so once again I'm going to put some etchings in the ground here just so I can see what I'm doing a little more easily. So turn these on. And draw a few of these little zigzaggy stripe looking things. Alright, it's still jittering, and that right there is the dead center of the road. And now we have power that doesn't require me to have work lights expanding across this gap, which is what I was trying to do here. So there, you can see everything is still powered, and I don't need these random ass work lights. That's ultimately what I was trying to accomplish by burying my power lines. Like, the other way to set up power lines, I think, is to use rails, but again, the rails are so aggressive about connecting to each other that I don't know that I want to use them for that. Like, I could have used them, maybe. I could have had like a closed loop of rails for the purposes of spanning across the road, but I've been having a lot of problems with rails connecting to things that I don't want them to, so I'm going to go with this solution instead. So let's lock that, grab our big terrain tool, bury it, clean up the mess, and then go do some automation. Actually, I want the boost mod for this. The ultimate drag and drop gameplay in a good way. I am not entirely sure what you mean by that. What do you mean drag and drop gameplay? Like, I'm legitimately curious. I don't understand what you mean. Just don't mind me. Okay, that should be all filled in. That should have been deep enough to, like, remove any gaps that are down there, though it doesn't really matter that much. Now I just gotta fix the ramp. Kai, the Shapes OST is in the playlist. I'm still finishing the Celeste playlist before I switch to the Astroneer one. Just cool your heels. Just give it a moment. We'll get to it. I just need to fix this ramp. How much is in the Celeste one? We still have about an hour left in the Celeste one. I was just gonna let that play out because it's a good OST. It's just... I'm trying to make sure I sample from up here. Let's just fix the ramp. I just gotta get it kind of close. I'll go back in with the small module after this, make sure I've really got it, and then I'll paint it. That should be pretty good. So we're going with the small one now and touch up the edges. I really wish building in this game wasn't so tedious, but I mean, it could be worse. It used to be worse. They made it a lot better, the leveling block. But it's still a little bit slow, and honestly, I think most people don't build bases like this in the first place, so it hasn't been a huge focus by the devs to actually make this work. Okay, so this little bit of crust here will probably go away if I start painting it. Yeah, this weird little like floating triangle right here will probably go away if I start painting this, so let me go to the next part. We don't need this anymore. Inhibitor mod, terrain analyzer. Let me quickly touch up the ground here. Hopefully I didn't scuff this at some point. I should be able to fill this in without any issues. There we go. Let's get this corner. At least I'm able to do road work where you can't tell where the road work is once I'm done. It's not just like a shitty, like weird patch of asphalt on top of it because they just didn't bother smoothing it out properly. Okay, you might have seen it there. The weird triangle I pointed out a moment ago actually disappeared when I started painting it. For whatever reason, sometimes the colors on the surface like affect the way the level geometry works in a small area. I don't know why, it's kind of dumb, but it was easy enough to fix it, and there we go. We have created some buried power lines, and we have a couple of street lights for no apparent reason. I thought about automating these to like turn on and off for day and night, but that would require a really like ugly looking wire system that I would have to span all of these things with, and I didn't really feel like doing it. I could go back and do it later, but it would basically be a bunch of button repeaters on each of these pillars, like they just turn off the lights, and then I'd have some central system that would detect whether or not a solar panel was generating energy in order to like get all that to work. I don't know, maybe I'll go back to that at some point and do it, but it's not on the to-do list right now. Alright, let's clean up the mess I made and go work on some automation. No, we don't need that. There it is, this is the one we wanted. Snail, I think I have an empty slot there usually. And I'm just gonna push this thing off to the side of the road and we're good to go. Oh, that's like perfect too. That goes in like right at the edge of the road too. I wasn't even planning for that. That's just a coincidence that it wound up like that. Instead of this one over here that just goes into the dirt. Very aesthetically pleasing. Okay, Danger, I don't think you ever explained what drag and drop gameplay is, so I'll just have to... It'll just remain a mystery, I suppose. I need to manually farm these. Unfortunately, the system that I have here is still not perfect. And I need to kind of babysit this occasionally, get it to work correctly. We'll see if I ever get around to fixing that. Let's see here. Meanwhile, let's feed the snails. So you like these. So we're not going to feed them quite yet. I'm going to wait for them to all go hungry and then give them 2 at a time. So I'll let them go a little bit hungry since I'm not going to leave the base. Anyways, I prepared a few things for the automation. I would also like to point out, you may notice that these canisters appear to be sinking into the ground. And that's because they are sinking into the ground. Because it turns out even the thing I did to try to prevent this from happening isn't working. Like, they're sort of floating for some reason when I bump them, but there's at least one that has fallen through the floor that I need to go get. I don't understand this game's physics engine. I don't know why this happens. This is why it's important to put things on platforms if you don't want to lose them. So let's go into the underground real quick and see what we've lost before I start automating things. Because I think there's at least one down here. There might be more by now. Ah, here we are. Okay, so we have a solid fuel thruster. And whatever this is. That's... Okay, I have the Astronium on it. All 4 of it that I haven't been using. So remember, folks, if you're playing this video game and you're wondering where your stuff went, it's like, wow, I swear I had a medium storage full of some item. It probably just fell through the ground. Because that's how this game do. That's how Astroneer do. They don't have a proper physics engine that sleeps when things are too far away from you, and instead shit just like clips into the floor a little bit every time you load it. and eventually your favorite items go missing. I tried to prevent that for building the base the way I did, like with a perfectly flat surface at a specific height. It works pretty well, but as you can see there, it does not work perfectly because these canisters are still like slowly sinking into the terrain. I just don't understand this game. It's an anomaly. I don't think I see anything else that's about to fall through the ground. And worst case scenario, I could just go back down and get it if I lose anything. It's not the end of the world. Like, ultimately, it'll make its way down to the core. If you can't find it, that's probably where it is. Anyways, the rails. So the biggest pain point I was having with these rails is I spent like an entire stream trying to automate this rail system with like train stations and shit, and like one station servicing multiple like auto extractors. And the disappointing conclusion I came to is you can't fucking do it because the game's train system is too rudimentary. Like the amount of setup you need in order to get it to work is more trouble than it's worth. It's easier to just run multiple rails instead, and that's essentially what I ended up doing here. And the problem is I've been kind of just piling these in at random. There's no organization scheme to it. There's just shit everywhere. And I want to show something that might be interesting to anybody here from a previous save I did to kind of give you an idea of like what you can do when you're making a mega base in this game. I don't want to build the same one, but I figure this might be interesting to show to people. So I'm going to show you my previous save from before they added the snails or the train update and the mega base that I built there. And then you'll kind of see like what I have done in this game and what I'm sort of trying to go for in this one, but hopefully using some of the new technology that we have. So this is the automation update. This is when they first added the auto arms and they were super glitchy and didn't work correctly. This is like when I had this save. So it'll take a little while to load. It's got quite a lot going on in it. So just give it a second here. We might also tank the stream performance, but we won't be looking at it for long. Oh yeah, oh that's lagging big time. Why is that still turned on? Why would I not have turned that off? So there were a few things that weren't in the game at this time, but this is like a 100-hour like mega base project is what this save was. No one has seen this on stream yet, so this is like exclusive material. This is the first time ever. This is the mega storage that I built. This is every resource in the game, including the like unrefined metals, which didn't have any real reason to do it like this. And it has a sorting system built into it in the bottom where you put a resource on this storage, it gets grabbed up by an auto arm that's under the floor and gets sorted into this system. And I just kind of wanted to show this off and come up with maybe a better way to do this in the current version of the game now that we have a few more tools at our disposal. This is what that fucking looks like underground. Words cannot describe how difficult this was to build. Pretty much the items are up there on the surface, they get grabbed by these arms, they get placed on like a sequence of storages, they go into this middle thing here, and then I have this like nightmarish spider web of auto arms with a reset system because the auto arms fucking randomly break unless you turn them on and off again every couple minutes. But I have an auto arm here for every single thing in the game. There were 36 materials in the storage, I believe. 16 on the... or actually no, yeah, 18 on the floor and 18 on the ceiling, all of which can reach this medium storage in the middle, all of which were painstakingly aligned with mathematics to make sure that they could just barely reach the things that they're supposed to be able to. Every single one of these arms could reach this thing in the middle, and could then place a resource nugget on that one slot that isn't filled on the storage. And then these 4 arms over here can each reach just that one slot, and then place the items through the ceiling into the storage canisters that you saw up there. And then there's a set of auto arms on the back that could pull items out of the storage canisters and place them here, where they can then be grabbed by this like massive mess of arms on the ground, and then service the everything factory that I created in this save. So I've basically done this before, but it was just a veritable nightmare to build it like this, and I'm wondering if there's any better way that I could approach this problem with the addition of the trains, perhaps, to like set up a bus to move stuff around, instead of having this one center point where I had to do a shitload of trigonometry to calculate where these items were supposed to go, and then sort of use like the square grid on the floor here to figure out like roughly where that's supposed to be. and just sort of eyeball the rest of it. And honestly, for eyeballing it, I think I did a pretty damn good job of setting these up in what is almost a perfect circle with like very specific angles figured out. But like it took so long to build this. Like I definitely am not going to make a circular one during the stream playthrough. I just want to show off like what is technically possible. And then down here, these are the arms that retrieve items from the factory and shuttle them back to the middle, which is where the sorting thing is. They just place the items through the floor, they go back up there, and then they get sorted back into their storage canisters. What is this here? I have no idea how much of this I'm going to be doing on stream, but like this is what's technically possible. I wonder what I can accomplish with the rails. Let me just place an item here to wake the storage so you can see what it kind of looks like. Except one of the... Oh, that's cool. Did they fuck this one up too? Oh, that's great. One of the updates that they did in this game rotated all of these platforms. Oh my god, these fucking devs. It's all broken now. This actually doesn't work anymore. That's painful. Well, I'm glad I'm not playing on this save anymore. One of the updates, I don't know which one apparently, fucking rotated all of these large platforms 90 degrees from where they're supposed to be. So literally the whole thing is broken now. So this save is just like it's just a memory. Because they botched it. I would have to pick up every single one of these and painstakingly rotate it 90 degrees and place it back down again. Did they do that to every single one in this save? Good lord, what are the devs of this game doing? Like, I mean, I was done playing this save, so it's not the end of the world, but like, what the actual fuck? They did it to every single one. This printer was supposed to be rotated like this. That one I can't tell. The B platforms are fine. That is tragic. I can't... I'm looking to see if I have any more of those that I could identify as having been rotated. Yeah, these got rotated as well. These were definitely oriented the other way, so they were less, like, cramped. Devs, please, what the fuck are you doing with your video game? Yep, these got rotated as well. Every single large platform A in this mega base that I built, like, ages ago, got rotated. That is horrendous. Yeah, these are rotated too. Or are they? I'm not sure if these are rotated. I feel like maybe the middle slot did get rotated. Hold on, is there an example? Did the middle... No, that one didn't get rotated. Maybe those are fine. Maybe I always... No, never mind. These are fine. I had these sideways because I wanted to see the fill meter on the side. So never mind. False alarm on those. But yeah, the devs fucked this up apparently. They broke my base. Oh, well, I loaded this up earlier in the latest update, and I didn't notice this, so it was already bricked. So, whatever, I'll get over it. Let's just go to the main menu. So anyways, that was just a demo of what could happen for a storage system. I want to make one that isn't such a pain in the ass. So there's a couple things that need to happen here. I need to automate the storage process, I need to automate manufacturing, and I need to automate like the initial like supply of resources. So I'm kind of thinking, where do I want to start with that today? Don't know how much of this I'm going to be doing today. Like I have no idea how long these streams are going to last. So we'll see. We'll see how much of this I can get into. But I think it'll be interesting if I try to incorporate the trains into it. My biggest thought is instead of the central... I need to turn this down. There we go. My biggest thought is instead of the central, like, sorting system that I had, there was a super... Like, admittedly, it looked really fucking cool, but instead of having that system that was a super pain in the ass, I would really like to just have a big flat wall for storage instead, because it'll be much easier to build it if I just have a big smooth surface and I don't have to worry about, like, calculating out circles and shit. The question is, how and where am I going to do that? And my thoughts for where is, I think, here. Like, running from where I'm looking, down under me, and over as far as I need it to in this direction. That's kind of where I want to do it. And I could go as far down or up as I need to like, support the infrastructure for that. But that's ultimately where I want the sorting system to be. And then in the back, That's where like all the factory automation related stuff would go. This over here is like manual crafting world. That corner over there is vehicle world. And then this left side might just be more automation depending on how much room I need for it. I don't really know what's going to go over here on the left. But that's kind of tentatively what I had in mind for this. Also, is this event? Okay, this is actually the last shipment. Also, I've been doing this like weird mass production protocol, but they've just been letting me send aluminum the whole time, so I've literally just done nothing but send aluminum instead of making the high-level materials because there's no reason to. And I think that's actually the end of the event, so I just sent in the last one. I believe I waited to do that on stream because just in case something interesting happens. Yeah, this shit here is also something I need to fix, is the train's getting stuck between saves. So there's definitely a few things that need to happen here. For some reason, this train keeps getting fucking stuck between saves, which is super irritating. Like, this game is always like a step forward and 2 steps back with setting up systems like this. They had something really cool, and then it just barely doesn't work well enough to be reliable. And it's like, well, I guess I have to work around that now. Alright, did I get anything back? No, I just unlocked the skin. So if I keep sending things through this mass production protocol, I believe I will just get care packages every now and then, which might have useful stuff. So I am going to keep sending aluminum because I have basically an infinite supply of aluminum due to the auto extractor, so there's no reason for me not to do that. Speaking of aluminum, why have I not smelted this? But anyways, let's look into the automation side of things. That's, I think, probably the more interesting part of what I'm doing right now. So let me put this over here real quick and get these smelted, because there's no reason not to do that now. I have no reason to carry around raw materials like this, so I'm going to just refrain from doing it. It'll save the number of storage slots that I need to hold on to if I could just immediately process this stuff into aluminum. And under the assumption that I don't allow my system to back up with laterite, I won't ever have to actually worry about that causing problems. Okay, so let's start, I think, with the storage, and then work our way back. How do I make a good storage system? I want a large canister of everything. But one of the things that I did not like about the old base I had was that the base didn't know when the storages were full, which meant that if I overproduced a material, it backed up the entire system, and it basically just fucked everything up. So what I'm going to do is hypothetically make the aluminum storage, since that's the one that we have the most of anyways. But I specifically want to make a special kind of storage that can detect when it's almost full and turn off. And this is another one of those situations where I'm fairly disappointed in the dev team, because they almost did this right and then didn't do it right. And that is the fact that storage sensors in one of their like pre-release patches, not pre-release patches, but rather they had like a sneak peek of these storage sensors when they were developing them. And one of the things it could do, I believe, was it could alert you when the storage was only 50% full. And for some fucking reason, they took that out before the release. So the only options you have are full or empty, empty and not empty, or full and not full. So if I go ahead and just attach it here, it's actually not letting me target. And I just need to put it somewhere to demonstrate this. These modes that you see under the name storage sensor are the only things I have to work with. There is no way to detect half full, which is super fucking disappointing. I don't know why the devs didn't just implement it the way that they were going to, with like a slider that would let me choose the storage level that it detected, because that would have been way more useful than what they fucking came up with here. But we got to make do with what we got. And essentially my idea here is I need 2 canisters, and I need one of the canisters to get prioritized over the other one. And what I could hypothetically do with 2 canisters is fill the large resource canister, which has 400 slots, and then when the large resource canister is filled, I turn off all the systems that are producing aluminum. So in this case, that would be turning off the train that is bringing laterite, so that I don't back it up. And what this will do is leave an additional 32 slots in a second canister that is going to be sitting next to it. And those 32 slots will exist for any surplus that I happen to wind up with for one reason or another in the base. Like if I accidentally grab too much aluminum and I need to put it back in the storage, I will have a 32 slot buffer to put the extra aluminum back in the storage, instead of just literally having nowhere to put it because the canister is full. So the goal of this base is going to be to have a large resource canister of aluminum, and then this canister should be empty. But if I accidentally pull extra aluminum, I can put it in this canister, and then when the base is consuming aluminum, I need it to preferentially consume from this resource canister, and then the large one, if it did not consume from this medium one here. That's kind of the idea. And then what that allows me to do is use a storage sensor on this thing, set to full or not full, as my toggle for whether or not I produce more aluminum. So when it's full, I turn off my aluminum. When it's not full, I turn it back on. And then this canister here handles the surplus. Devs, I don't know why the fuck you didn't just give me a 50% option. You're making this way more complicated, but you know what? At least we have a problem that we could solve now. I'm going to go ahead and feed all the snails in a second here. I'm waiting for this one to sync up with the other ones. Like, they're already hungry. So once that happens, I'll feed all the snails, and then we'll go ahead and dig into this. In the meantime, I want to make a second large canister so I can kind of set up like a proof of concept design for this off to the side. So that is the first research item we're going to be doing here, is can I figure out how to do that? So I need to make a titanium alloy, and then a nanocarbon from that. Okay, yeah, I have the steel. I think I have a helium sitting somewhere, so good. And then what is the other thing that you need to make these? I should have this unlocked already, I just haven't crafted one yet. This is the one that you get for free for doing one of the missions. Okay, it did not unlock it by the look of things, so I need to do that myself. Luckily, we have like a 1/6 of a million bites. Can the snails die? They do not die, they just don't give you the buffs. Thankfully, you don't have to actually feed them, and there is a snail named Usagi who I never feed because it's useless and doesn't deserve to be fed. And luckily, they don't die because I might actually use Usagi for something later on in this stream, because they patched a bug that was causing problems with that particular snail, and I want to check it out and see if it works correctly. But yeah, you don't need to feed them. So you can neglect them all you want. You just feed the ones that you care about and not the other ones. I need to make the nanocarbon, hold on. Okay, there we go. So let's make a large resource canister. We'll have a medium one, and we're going to do a little bit of testing over here to see if we can get like a proof of concept layout that does all the things that I want it to. And then I just have to mass produce that, which once I've designed it and set it up, that's one of the things I can do off stream, is I can manufacture like the other 20 of these things, but I want to show the problem solving process on stream, because I'm assuming that's what people come here for. They don't want to come to the stream and just have a mega base built with no context for how it happened. But I think people also don't want to watch me print 20 large resource canisters, one at a time, standing here, doing fucking nothing. So I'm making like a judgment call on what counts as interesting content for my stream, and that doesn't fit the bill. I mean, I don't want to do that either. Like, I usually watch like somebody else's stream or something in the background while I'm doing things in this game off stream. And the only off-stream activities I've really been doing in this game are just, like, printing stuff between streams, so you don't have to watch me do this kind of thing live on stream. Or I also, like, flattened out the base off-stream, because that literally just took 2 hours of me holding, like, my just left mouse button down while smoothing terrain. Not terribly interesting. I show little tidbits of what I do, and then I do them off-stream afterward. So we are, of course, waiting for something to print here, but it's just one. And we need this thing. Okay, so we have a logical problem that needs to be solved here. And the easiest way to do this is usually with a few sample materials, but in this case I can't really fill this canister very easily. So what I might do is start with a couple of partially filled small canisters and just pretend that this one here is the big canister. And then when I think I have it worked out, I'll swap out the large resource canister. So initially, we're going to do our testing with these two graphites. We have the concept of a filled canister and then a surplus. So where's that storage sensor that I grabbed? It should be this one here. The question is, how do I do this? And what I want to have accessible to me is this storage here and the surplus, and then I want like at least one nugget to be available to me as like over here so that I can grab it and craft things with it. And I also need resources to be available for the automation systems to grab graphite out of this system and take it to the graphite factory, wherever that might be. So there's a few requirements here for how I'm going to get this to work. We're going to need at least a couple auto arms. And then I want the prioritization system, where basically I want to put things in this canister first, and then the right canister second. I want to retrieve things from the right canister first, and then the left canister second. And then this storage sensor would be responsible for turning on an automation system, if should I happen to have one, which I'm going to use a work light to kind of visualize that when it's turned on. I can just plug the work light in and anything and it should work fine. My snail done yet? This one is... Okay, yeah, this one just ate, so let's go feed the other ones. I fucking hate the fact that these things put stuff in your inventory. Devs, please remove that feature. Nobody likes it. Alright, so here's anyone who hasn't seen this yet. This is the automated, like, snail food factory right now. It just kind of harvests the plants until this storage is filled and then turns itself off. And it's very convenient because it means I don't have to do that. I just literally grab the food items that the snails want and let the auto arms take care of the rest. And it's not perfect. It has a few issues, but you know, it gets the job done. Like, it occasionally has problems. For instance, this one over here is running out of cataplant seeds. Maybe I needed to put a few more in there. The other ones are pretty stable. They always regrow roughly the same number of seeds. Actually, this one's fine, too. It actually managed to plant all 4 of them, so we might be good to go then. It might be stable again. We'll see. I don't have to fight with it too much, and it makes the snails worth having around when you don't have to actually care about farming the plants. You can just grab them off of storage whenever you want. Like, this here is 1 hour of each snail buff. 30 minutes for the favorite food, and then 30 more minutes for the one that I stored on its, like, input slot. Very convenient. Alright, so... let's see here. Full or not full? So right now it's full, which means that this work light theoretically would be turned on. So I'm just gonna hook it up however I can. I think I could just stick it to the side. Okay, like that. And then if I were to remove a resource, or actually the other way around actually, I want the system to be turned on if there is room in this canister for materials. And then I want it to be off when this one is full, regardless of how much is in the second canister. So that means we need to place items in the canister on the left first. The problem with this is these auto arms are fucking stupid. They are not deterministic. I don't think they're even persistent between game saves. These auto arms will basically put items in either of these canisters at random. Like, I think they pick one that they prefer to put the items in, but the one that they prefer to put items in first can change for no apparent reason, beyond my control. So what that unfortunately means is we need 2 arms to do this. I cannot find a way to get only 1 arm to do it. I don't have a way to, like, lock these canisters. I can't really move them out of the way efficiently. Curve Dog, thank you for the follow. Like, I can't get them out of the way efficiently. I don't have a good way to solve this problem. I can't think of a way to do this with 2 arms. Now, chat, this is part of the reason why you're here. If you have suggestions, I'm open to them. Like, I might shoot them down if they're not going to work. But, like, I'm open to suggestions. If you're seeing something that I'm not when I'm trying to design these systems, like, go ahead and just tell me. Maybe I'm just completely missing something here. But as far as I can tell, I need 2 auto arms for this, and I have to turn one of them on and one of them off, depending on which canister I'm trying to fill. That's the first intuition I have. Unfortunately, the auto arms are also fucking stupid and will put items in the wrong canister unless I really make sure that they can only reach 1 canister. So this is where aligning things to a grid is going to be helpful. We're going to be eyeballing this initially, but I want to make sure that the auto arms can, like, just barely reach the 1 canister and not the other one. So if I go ahead and turn these on here real quick. For example, one of the setups I might need is this here. How close together can I get these 2 canisters without the arms being able to place resources in one of them? Is kind of what I'm going for here. So for instance, I could definitely get these closer together. Maybe something like this. And I need to make sure that this arm cannot put resources in this canister and vice versa. So the way we're going to test that is just put a few, like, random ass items on the ground and remove the canister that it would prefer and just kind of see what it does. And in that case, it is still able to do that. So let's move it a little further away. And now it can't anymore. But the one on the right should be able to do that. And this is kind of what we're going for here with the spacing. It's going to be a lot of trial and error. I'm wondering if I should actually set this up over there in that area where I don't really have anything, because I'm going to want to rip this apart like as I'm building the actual storages. Then again, it's way more convenient to have it over here, so let me just move this out of the way instead. And I'll keep putting it over here. This is where it would be convenient to mark the terrain so that I can have a grid. This is one of the reasons why building a base in a true flat area is really handy, is that you can do this. So if I get the inhibitor mod, take off Big Chungus Snail here. And we're not going to need the drill mod for a while. And I need to get just any terrain color, but this one will do just fine. And I'm basically going to paint a few lines in the ground to make this easier to do. Just in this general area, because this is where I'm going to be building this. I just want to kind of do something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect, I just need to have like a few grid increments that I can work with. And this will allow me to carefully align these, which will be very helpful later. Ideally, I can get these parallelograms all the way through, because this will let me have a grid anywhere that I want. Unfortunately, making a square grid out of this is borderline impossible, so like these are the next best thing that I can get, are these parallelograms. Okay, it's a little bit scuffed, but we'll see if that becomes a problem. I can come back and paint over it to get the other grid color later. Actually, I need to do that now that I think about it, so let me go ahead and do just a little bit more of this. Oh, and I ruined it. Get it a little bit wider. I won't have to do this for all of them, I just need a thorough grid for this batch in particular. Okay, good, it's actually going to cooperate. It's going to just, I think, take out the correct shapes every time I do this. I'm surprised that was... never mind. I was about to say I'm surprised this is working as well as it is, and then a couple of them just decided not to work. A little bit more. Yep, that makes sense. I clicked for one frame, and that was the result I got. This is such a finicky system, and there we go. This is where I'll keep the chess pieces. Now, we have actual chessboards for that. Unfortunately, I can't paint this pattern on the ground, so the chess pieces go on the chessboard. I suppose we could have like a cursed, like diagonal chessboard that's really hard to read. Like technically, you could make a chessboard out of this. It's a quadrilateral like tessellation, so like you could still technically do it. It would just be really hard to see where the pieces are because they're going to be at this weird slanted angle. So yeah, you know, maybe we shouldn't do that and say we did. All right, I don't need these for now, so go ahead and put them back. Alright, so now that we've gone and done all this, the reason why we've gone and done all this is that now I can align these properly and sort of figure out how compact can I make this. And something to also remember is I have access to the third dimension, meaning I can put things on the ceiling up top if this actually helps. So I have to consider the fact that I have that option of using the ceiling. I'm not just bound to the floor here. I can put a ceiling above it. So we'll see if that ever becomes useful or not. Watching an Astroneer masterclass. Well, hopefully this is informative. So how close together can I get these? Like, I don't know how many people do technical Astroneer streams. I haven't watched a whole lot of Astroneer streams. The handful that I've even bothered to look at have been kind of boring, I guess. They kind of aren't doing anything particularly unique or interesting. So I mean, I hope this provides something entertaining. That's kind of what I'm going for here. I'm trying to make like semi-scientific content out of this game rather than just, oh look, I found a zebra marble. Everybody poggers in the chat, I found a zebra marble. I'm trying to do things that are a little bit unique and different here. Like that's why we have the Apollo 11 Eagle lander over there, and that's why there's a space elevator on the other side of this planet. Like I'm trying to do stuff that most people don't do in this game. So hopefully I can provide entertainment with that. Let me get the canisters back. Alright, so we're using the small ones here. I'm going to use a couple small storages to hold these as well so I can keep their positions a little more easily. And where I can, I'll switch to like combined platforms. Like I might use a medium platform A for something, but for now I'm going to just use a bunch of these little ones. And this is just so that I don't have to worry about misplacing the canisters. So the thing that we're trying to figure out right now is how close together can I make these before one of the auto arms is able to put things in the other canister. And I could already tell right now this needs to be further. Unfortunately, the stubborn, uncooperative nature of these auto arms means that they force you to put things way further apart than you would kind of like to. Like, I could always put them closer to the auto arms and use this edge of the circle, but the problem that introduces is if I stand over here for any reason, they're going to start just putting crap in my inventory, which is not useful at all because I almost certainly don't want them to do that if I just happen to be walking by. So ideally, I keep my Astroneer outside of the space where the arms are going to be able to interact with, so they can only interact with the platforms unless I go into the back rooms to mess with this thing. So I'm just kind of eyeballing this. It doesn't have to be super precise. Get a couple canisters. I put them on wrong because I'm a dummy. Best Astroneer stream. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad you're enjoying this. Don't hesitate to ask questions if something I'm doing is interesting, or if you've like played this game a little bit and you're wondering why I'm doing something in particular. Okay, this might actually work. Let's see what happens here. So let's give the right auto arm a resource nuggie. Right here. What is it going to do? Okay, it can reach this canister. Now the question is, can it reach the other canister? So let's prevent it from accessing this slot. What is it going to do? It cannot do anything. It cannot put anything in the other canister. This is exactly what we wanted. We have a fairly compact setup with an auto arm that can reach one canister but not the other. Now the problem is, if I decide to do this with large resource canisters, which I might, it's going to look a little bit different, but I think it'll actually be easier because the large resource canister is so much more bulky that it's going to take up more space anyways, and I will have a much easier time getting the spacing on these two auto arms. Now just to double check that this isn't like a super close edge case, the other thing I should test is this side here. So can the arm on the right place on the left is the next thing that I want to test. Okay, this needs to not be in the way. You know what, here, grab this. Perfect. And it cannot. Okay, so we have a pretty good solution for two medium canisters. I will come back to that with the large resource canister, but for now let's move forward with this design. I like seeing other people's approach to the game. You're curious about the seed farm. And if you have questions about the seed farm, I could show more of it later. But I don't want to get sidetracked in the middle of this, so ask me later if you're curious how it works exactly. But like, if you know about the circuitry of this game, basically the premise is that the seed farm just has a cycle that constantly harvests and plants the seeds until the medium storage on the front is filled, at which point it turns off the harvesting cycle and turns off the auto arms. It's not terribly complicated, but I still had to fight with it to get it to work correctly. Alright, so anyways, we have spacing that works. So that's part of the puzzle that we were trying to solve here. So let's go ahead and put these back in their normal state. This one's hypothetically filled. So the next thing that I need to do here is these two auto arms should only be turned on if there is a source of materials for them to grab from. So we need another storage. And this is, I mean, I guess they could be on all the time. They're going to use a lot of power. For now, let's hypothetically leave them both turned on, waiting for like a train or something with a material to run by. Wasn't aware arms could plant seeds. They can't. Okay, you know what? I'll go ahead and explain this now, real quickly. These things, these proximity repeaters, are the things that are capable of harvesting and planting seeds. Like, this is the thing that I have running on a cycle. The auto arm is just responsible for picking up the seeds and planting them again. Unfortunately, the seeds only grow when I'm nearby, which is lame, but I'm just waiting for these to grow so I could show you what a cycle looks like on this thing. Let's give it a second. Any second now, these are going to magically become fully grown. They're going to twitch slightly when they finish. It only takes like a minute per plant. Yeah, mess with the sensors yet. Okay, yeah, this probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense then, but it's hard to explain it if you don't know what all the sensors are, but I could try my best later. I'm going to just show you this real quick. Is that even if you're just doing this manually, you can just slap a proximity repeater in the middle of these and use it, and it'll just do that. And then wait for the seeds to settle and just plant them all again. Any seeds that aren't on the ground will not plant, which in this case you can see 5 of them landed on the ground, 3 of them did not. Almost always at least half of the seeds are on the ground, and every plant produces 2 seeds, except these for some reason, which produce 3. So you can get a self-sustaining farm pretty quickly by just doing this. The problem is your proximity repeater is going to become buried and you won't be able to interact with it anymore. Like the one in here, I could barely even like get my cursor over it. So you probably want a button repeater connected to it off to the side so you can access it. But like that's how I would do that. If you just want to half-ass a plant farm and don't want to manually plant each and every single one of them, just do that. Just go ahead and send this away. For some reason, this thing cannot be automated, which is really lame. Devs, please, I don't know what you're doing. Anyways, so we've got these 2 auto arms here, and they're both going to try to grab resources, and this is where we need to have one of them turned off when the other one is supposed to be active. We can only have one arm at a time. So let's go ahead and get that working. Yeah, no problem with the button repeater. Like if you don't know how those work, you literally just place a proximity repeater. Where's the button repeaters? By the way, you can store repeaters like this. You can just stack them, which is silly. But if you do this right here and just attach the target pin like this, let me move this where it's not going to activate anything. But yeah, you just craft a button repeater, craft a proximity repeater, do that. Connect to it, damn it, there we go. And then if you activate the button repeater, it just does whatever the proximity repeater would have done. It's literally, that's all you have to do to get that to work. So it's very simple. So baby's first plant farm can literally just be that. I mean, that's what my first plant farm was. I just had a proximity repeater and a button repeater to trigger it. You can't stack the proximity repeaters for whatever reason. What did we win? We did not get any rewards for that, so going back to this. The way I have this set up right now, let's pretend for a second that this one's not filled. This is kind of the initial state of the system. We have this thing partially filled, and then we have nothing at all in this one here. So let's go ahead and drop all this crap off on the side. There's like 10 of them here. I can kind of do this manually. Okay, so this is the state of the system that basically says I need to be gathering resources. So my resource manufacturing should be on. This auto arm should be on. This is basically the state of the system. So again, this light being on means I am manufacturing graphite. In the case of this, manufacturing graphite just means I have the train that gets graphite turned on. And then I have an auto extractor somewhere bringing it to me. I don't know where that's going to be. I think there's a good graphite deposit on the other side of the gateway. But this is the initial state of the system here. When this fills up, what I want to do is turn off the system that is providing graphite. And I want to turn off the arm that is trying to fill this canister. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And I want to turn on the arm that would fill the other canister. So I'm trying to think if this makes any sense. So I have to ask myself a few questions here. For instance, is there a reason to turn off the first auto arm? It would save a little bit of power, a little bit of processing time. Because what would happen here is this auto arm... You gotta go. Alright, all good. I'm happy I was able to give you some tips. And, I mean, I might still be doing this when you get back, depending on how many hours I spend streaming this game. But if you gotta go, that's all good. Thanks for stopping by. Anyways... I could leave this auto arm on, and what's going to happen here is when this canister gets filled, it's not going to be able to do anything. And the arm is just going to sit there, turned on with a resource nugget in its hand, just not moving. That, off the top of my head, doesn't seem like a problem, but it also seems inefficient, and we have a free way to just kind of turn it off, save a unit of power, save a little bit of my CPU. So I can't see a reason not to turn off the arm when this canister gets filled, and then we turn on the second arm. So let's go ahead and do that. There we go, it's filled. We switch over to the other system. Manufacturing is off, that arm is off, now this one is turned on. And it's going to fill this canister, and we are just hoping that this canister never fills, and if I turn off all the systems that are producing graphite, I might have like maybe a couple residual graphite show up in the system, fill this canister, and then that's the end of that. And we don't have to worry about any extra surplus, and we don't have an overflow problem, and we don't back up. Backing up is the worst thing that could happen here, because if one resource backs up, it's probably going to clog up the entire factory. That's just the nature of this game. This isn't like Factorio, where you can elegantly just have conveyor lines back up. Like in this game, things are going to get broken if you have a main bus with a bunch of crap on it and one item isn't being consumed. So I guess the problem is I can't have multiple buses. It would take up too much space. So we're going to kind of have one, like a big sushi belt, and we're just going to hope that there's not too much of any particular item on it. So this solves the problem of storage. Now if any more graphite shows up in the system, it's going to get sorted over to here. However, we need to worry about getting items out of this system now, because I need to make graphene, for instance, or I need to use graphite to make who knows what. I think graphene's actually the only thing you use it for. I mean, I might have a packager factory for all I care. I want to make sure that I'm grabbing resources out of this canister first, and then this canister second. That's the other important thing. If I start grabbing from the wrong canister, this one will eventually fill up just over time, and then we're going to have issues. So I have to grab from this one first. And the way that we're going to have to do that is probably more auto arms. And this is where I might utilize the ceiling so that I don't have to put anything in front of this. I could have 2 auto arms on the ceiling that are responsible for retrieving graphite from the system. And one of the things that those arms could do is put them on like a sort of display rack for me as a character, as a player, to pick them off instead of me pulling them directly off these canisters. But then the other thing that they're going to do is provide resources to the factory that I'm going to be building behind. So I don't know what this layout is going to look like exactly. For now, I'm going to, I think, just sort of stick them to the side and kind of work it out as I go. Maybe I'll make a little floating block of terrain up here in a second. I probably should have built this further back, but I can always move it in a moment if I need to. Either way, we need 2 more auto arms. So luckily I printed a bunch of these off screen so you don't have to wait for me to make them. We just have them right here. How much graphite do I have? I got plenty, so I can seed them with these. I have a bunch of platforms as well. We need a couple more A platforms. Thought I had more A platforms. Okay, well, it looks like I lied, chat. I think I do have to print something. Never mind, okay, I lied again. I have 2 more, just enough. Alright, put the arms. I usually just kind of let them sit on the default because it makes the most sense. And I gotta think about how I want to lay these out. Again, I have the 3rd dimension to work with, which means I could have these arms on top, like flipped upside down in the air like this, and they will actually be able to grab those resource nuggets off the end if I position them correctly. And from there, I could have the arms be able to feed stuff back into the system. Another option is that I have the arms pointed downward from directly above the canisters and grab them from there, and then I have my storage system either underground or straight up. I could also have the arms directly underneath on a wall, so I could have the arms like sideways like this, interacting with these resource nuggets. I think the first thing I should do is set up the logic and then rearrange the arms once I have a logic system that works. So kind of simplify this a little bit, solve one problem at a time. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is move this whole system back a little bit and just do it in a straight line. I think that'll be the easiest way to do this from the get-go. So let me once again go ahead and set this up and paint a few more hash marks on the ground. I kind of like how these look, honestly. I'm not going to paint the whole base like this. That'd be a huge pain in the ass, but I kind of like how they look. It's a neat pattern, even if it's kind of the only pattern that I can actually get this game to draw for me. Just draw a few more of those. Yeah, it was bound to happen. I can clean those up when those occur. I don't know if that's because I'm dragging my cursor or because there's just a little bit of like crust in the terrain engine that I need to paint over. The terrain engine is very weird about painting in this game. It's surprising that it works as well as it does, because sometimes certain shapes are just impossible to draw, and I don't really know why. Okay, yeah, I think there was a little bit of crust left. Let's go ahead and fill these in a little bit more. That one I just misclicked. Let's go ahead and do just a bit more. I don't want to have to do this again, so I'll draw it all the way out to here, I think. Okay, and then anyone who didn't know, by the way, if you don't have a terrain analyzer enabled, but you do have an inhibitor mod, and you try to paint, you just paint your default terrain color. So you don't actually need to sample the light gray color that you get by default. So that's, you just have that one automatically. Which I didn't know originally, which is why there is one here. This one right here is the default gray color, but you never actually need to use this. Just take off the one that you had. I'm actually going to leave this on my terrain tool since I'm not digging any holes anyway. So let's just go ahead and do it like this. So what we're going to do here is just move these all the way to the back as far as I can get them, but keep the same relative positions. So I'm making sure they're still in a roughly straight line. It looks like they are. So let's get the first one. I don't need to be too precise with this. These are going to be temporary. Get the second one over here. I can move the work light to be in this position. And I can go ahead and connect them like that just before I move them next to each other. I can't access those cable plugs once they're cramped, but initially this is fine. And again, I will see if I can use a large platform and put them side by side on that. It might work. It might not. I'm not really sure. For now, I'm just going to use these A platforms because they're very, very easy to move around. All right, and then the distance that we were going for was, I think, right here. These don't appear to have rotated too much when I picked them up, so I can just kind of slap them back down. And by the way, the spot that the game is going to place it is where the circle is on the ground, not the little dot to the right. I don't know why my cursor is always like that. It's offset. The game is going to place it on the circle on the floor. It's not going to place it where your cursor is, just for whatever reason. It's weird. This video game is strange. Lock these so I don't accidentally pick any of them up. Okay, that's the same setup I had before, so I can reach the canister on one side, but not the other one. Let's go ahead and pick this up. Also, fun fact, if you have a segment pin like this, you can just put it on top of the thing that produced the segment pin to begin with, like that, for a more visually comprehensible example of where it's going. You don't have to put the segment pin on the ground or on a platform or anything. You can just put it right back on top of the thing you pulled it out of. And essentially, it looks like the storage sensor is just connected directly to these three things, but there's actually a segment pin on top of it. So anyone who didn't know that, hopefully that's useful, because I was very happy to find out about that. It makes these builds much more organized when you don't have to just have random ass segment pins stuck to platforms everywhere. Okay, anyways, we were trying to set up the retrieval system, and it's going to be kind of similar, where I'm going to have the storage sensor control which of these arms is allowed to grab resource nuggets. And it should be fairly easy to set these up. Same premise as before. I want to be able to grab one resource nugget, but not the other one. So let me go ahead and straighten these out a little bit. I wonder if I can get it to do the jittering thing if I get it at a 90-degree angle. Oh, that's interesting. So it'll jitter there. It will not jitter at this angle. It'll jitter at that angle. And okay, that's kind of weird. So it's specifically when they're sideways that they do that. Maybe it would be worth rotating them like that just so I get a better visual feedback for that. Whatever. For now, we're not going to do that. It doesn't matter. For the final build, I might go ahead and rotate all these 90 degrees to take advantage of that. So this arm looks like it can grab both of them, and that's what I needed to not be able to do. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on just to verify that assumption, but I think this arm can grab both of them, and we do not want that. I can move these slots to the side if I want to, which might make it a little bit easier to space out these arms. So I have a few options here. If I turn it on, yeah, it already just grabbed from the wrong one. The arms are stupid. They don't even grab the closest one. I think there's just something in the data structure that the game uses to detect eligible resources to grab. And this was just the first resource that was eligible to grab. I wouldn't be surprised if this arm here will also grab that particular resource nugget. Just because that's how it works. I'll place it down and test that, but we're going to have to fix that. So these are not going to be the permanent positions for these platforms. So go ahead and slap that bad boy down, turn it on. Yeah, they both really want to grab from this canister here. But the thing is, you might be thinking like, oh, well, that's great. You can consistently grab from one canister and not the other. But again, the problem is they can change which canister they want to grab for no apparent reason. I did some testing off stream for this, And like if I move these canisters a little bit, or if I like reload my save, they might just decide this is the canister they want to grab from instead for no particular reason. Like, yeah, I cannot trust the system is unfortunately the problem. It's not consistent, which is very irritating. I very much fucking wish there was a target pin on these arms that I could connect to the storage I want the arms to interact with, and if I had connected to a storage, the arms don't interact with anything else. They should only interact with the thing that I want them to. The way they work now, this is an example of this game being too simple for its own good. They give you this really cool feature with these auto arms, but the auto arms are fucking stupid. And they just do whatever they want. They interact with anything that is in this range. And if you think this is a sphere, this shape that I'm standing in is not a sphere. It is not a cylinder. It is actually a capsule that is about like 10 units tall and like a couple units below the ground with like spherical ends on the top and bottom. So it is a very weird shape that can grab shit that is like very far above the auto arms for some reason, which is sometimes useful and other times absolutely not what you want them to do. So the shape that they demonstrate here, despite being a sphere in the graphics engine, is not actually a sphere. It is very tall. So I have to worry about them doing that on top of everything else. There's a lot of jank with these auto arms, and I really wish they were easier to control because they're way too aggressive with everything they interact with. So what we're hoping for here is that moving them one unit further away will get them to only interact with this resource nugget and not the other one. Resource nuggets are kind of long, but I don't know if this is going to reach. So let's find out. It can reach. So the question is, can it reach the other side? Let's turn both of these on. Okay, that is looking very good. Okay, that's perfect. It just barely works. The auto arms can actually reach the resource nuggets because I think the hitbox on these nuggets extends a little bit further past the tip. Like graphite is shorter than some of the other ones, and the arms are actually able to grab just the very edge of the hitbox. So for this particular layout with two medium canisters, this actually works. So now I have a good system. Let's get the arms wired up to only activate when they're supposed to. So let me go ahead and turn them both off. Go ahead and put these here. So what we want from the system is let's see, in the current state, I want this arm to be the active one and the other one to be turned off. So let's go ahead and grab a few more bits from our segment pin. Slap that down there. Got one more. Okay. So with the system turned on, this arm should be on right now, and it should be trying to output into whatever systems are requesting it. The system requesting it, again, could just be a storage rack like this, and then I'm just standing over here, like trying to grab resources off of the storage rack, and I would probably have the back slots filled with tethers or something. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Where are my tethers? I have a whole pile of them over here that I've been collecting for some reason. I mean, I guess we have a reason now. 2, 3, 4. We just need 4 tethers to occupy the backside. And this is all temporary, hacky, whatever. I might change all this later. But for now, we'll go with this. And using tethers to fill storage slots is basically just put it in your inventory one at a time and then place it in a storage slot. They won't combine together on the storage, and you have just filled a bunch of slots. So now we only have 4 available. And this thing right here could hypothetically be like a display rack for these storage items. So like if I was crafting something and I came over to my main storage, I could just have this visible and grab graphite off of it, and the game would automatically refill it for me. And having 4 of them here means I can grab a few at a time and I don't have to wait for the auto arms to top it off. So that's kind of the ideal scenario here, is to have a storage rack like this that just gets auto-filled. And then the other thing I could do is, like, if I want a canister, I could drop a canister in range of the system and just leave it sitting here for like a minute and then come back for it, and I would just have a canister full of graphite waiting for me. So like, that's the magic of setting up a system like this. It's just a matter of actually implementing it. Okay, so the thing that's going to happen here is this is going to fill up, and then there's going to be a problem that I need to fix here, and I think I need a second storage sensor for it. And you may have noticed the problem, maybe not. I just remembered that this is going to happen. But let's go ahead and pretend that this thing fills up. So let me put a bunch of resources back in it. Luckily, we have enough graphite to do this. How close is it? Okay, it needs 4 more, and then it's going to be filled. Okay, so the problem here is I just turned off this arm, but there is nothing in this resource canister yet. And pretty much these arms, I think, need to actually be synchronized to whether this canister is empty or not empty, as opposed to whether this one is full or not full. I need them to be offset by one resource nugget. So let's go grab another storage sensor and see if my intuition here is correct, that I should just be able to drop a second one on this. Again, I'll do the same trickery with the target pin, or the segment pin, just drop it back on top. Oh, the soundtrack ended. Let me quickly get the other soundtrack up and running. I think I've been in dead silence for like 15 minutes here. Nobody told me anything. I think my voice put everybody to sleep. Okay. Chrome, come on. I literally opened this tab like 2 hours ago. You're telling me it's still lagging? Okay, I guess it was 6 hours ago. Give it a second here. This game, unfortunately, is destroying my CPU right now, so hopefully the stream is looking decent. Like, I'm running at 60 FPS, so I think it's fine. I'll reduce the quality of the game if I'm having issues streaming it, but it's been decent so far. Chrome, on the other hand, is fucking my shit up right now. Alright, there we go. Here's the other playlist that I was gonna run. You're still awake? I'm happy to hear that. Or maybe I'm not happy to hear that. I was trying to put people to sleep. I thought that's what I was good at. Somebody... Oh, it was Captain who said that. Never mind. I wasn't trying to do that at all anymore. Oh, well, anyways, this is the Astroneer soundtrack I usually play. It just has a variety mix of music on it. So what we want to do here is switch this to empty or not empty. It's hard to interact with the segment pin. This is the only downside of doing it like this, but you kind of aim low and that'll grab the segment pin for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, go ahead and get rid of those. Doesn't really matter where these go, this is all temporary. So what we actually want from this system here is for this one to still be turned on until we have at least one resource nugget in this canister, at which point I want to stop using this auto arm and I want to start draining this resource canister because this is our surplus, like this is our overflow canister. We have to use this one first or else the system is going to jam. So if I take off of this, things continue as normal, the system turns back on, it goes back to filling. I'm trying to like kind of handle the edge cases here. But it's going to fill up again. It's going to activate the other arm. And then if I go ahead and do this. Let's see, that is not going to be something I could fix because I can't detect that there's anything on the output slot. So we're going to go ahead and leave that alone. That's not a huge concern. So let's have one more item go into the storage. It'll actually remember that it's filled. Okay, there we go, and then it grabbed out of that, and then it switched back to this arm. I think it's actually working as it's supposed to here. So let me grab a couple more of these and see like how it handles that. Okay, it switches which arm is supposed to output. If I grab from this, it's fine. It's fine again. This arm is going to turn off. Yeah, so there's going to be a little bit of surplus on these slots, and I don't think that's avoidable. So there's just always going to be a graphite here that never gets used, and that is because I have no way of knowing that this graphite is here. Like, this arm is dumb. I could, like, start adding, like, count repeaters, but that is just introducing more error. I would rather just have a wasted nugget of graphite sitting on this output that never gets used, and then have, like, a couple buffered like this. I think that's just going to be the nature of the system. It's going to look like this, and I can't do a whole lot about it, and I can live with it. The important part is I think we have it. I think we have a reasonably compact system that can solve the problem that I want, which is I could turn off my supply system when I'm sort of full, but not when I'm actually, like, filled to the brim with crap. I wonder if there's a better way to do this. Like, I have it running in parallel. I wonder if there's a sequential way that I could do this. And nothing is coming to mind. Like, the other thought would be if I had, like, 2 canisters, like, daisy-chained, one after the other. Is there anything I could do to detect that one of them is filled? And not the other one, because maybe there's a better solution to this problem. Sometimes the first solution you come up with is not the best one. So what if I had a system that was like this instead? Where I had input arms on the left, they filled this canister, which filled this canister, so this is the one that would always be the most crowded, and then I had an output slot right here. Could I get that to work? And the answer might be yes. The question is that better than what I have here? It might use fewer auto arms. I would have 3 instead of 4. Are there any downsides to that? What could go wrong with a system like this? It's a system that would basically try to front load this canister as much as it could from whatever was in here. And whether or not this canister is full would be the deciding factor for whether or not the automation would work for the rest of the system. The biggest issue I could think of is for this canister here, it's briefly not full, and then it's full again. It's not full, and then it's full again. Like, what's going to happen here is every single time I pull a resource out of the front canister, the system is going to turn on for like 1 second until the auto arm that is running from this canister forces another resource into this one. And I think even if I put them on the same platform and have them output into each other, that might not work well enough. But I think it's definitely worth investigating, because the fewer arms I have, the less jank I have to worry about with the system. Like, the way this one works, I think it could like alternate back and forth if just this canister is filled. But I think once I have a little bit of a surplus in this canister, which is most likely going to happen due to how slow the whole system is going to be, this one will stay full for a couple cycles and then empty for a couple more resource cycles. It might be better that way. Let's try something here with this, however. Okay, so we want to go from left to right. Auto arms are able to put resources in a canister even that is set to output. But the problem is if I have them set... No, they're both going to be set to output. Okay, I'm not sure if I could do anything with this system if they're on the same platform like this. I kind of need them both to be set to output. But they're not going to ever place resources into each other's canisters. Yeah, I can't think of a way to do it with one platform like this. So the best I could think of is this system right here. And that would be 1 arm to place in this one to place in this one, and then 1 more arm to grab output and place it on like my storage rack, and then whatever other systems need to draw from it, they could just pull from this canister right here. That will reduce the complexity of the system slightly and possibly make it a little bit more convenient on space because it's going to be narrower. So I kind of like the idea of doing it like this better than the system that I have here. I wish I'd thought of this one first. The question is, what do I do about the problem here? The problem being this canister is filled. Let me actually get an auto arm to demonstrate this to myself and chat and anyone else who cares to peek it through with me a little bit. I'm looking for medium platform A right now. I kind of don't think I have any more. It's always medium platform A. Well, okay, well luckily these are easy to make. Let me go get some macaroni and I'll just print like 4 of them. Just my once per stream reminder that this crafting system sucks and the devs need to fix it to not suck. I don't like having to click through a million items to get the item I want. Just give me a grid, or heaven forbid a search box, or favorites list. There's so many solutions, and instead the devs went with none of the solutions. Okay, we got a bunch of these. I'll just store a few on this thing. Couple my inventory. Okay, so here's what I was hypothetically thinking was going to go wrong. Let's actually see if it goes wrong, like I suspect it's going to. So the idea is auto arm here. Grabs from one, places on the other one. I think this is going to produce a pulse every single time that happens. Can I eat the pulse that comes out of that system? If there's an easy, compact way to do that, then I don't have to worry about the problem. Otherwise, it is going to turn the system on just for a split second every single time. And that split second might be enough to like start smelting something that I don't want to and like kick another item into the system. And basically I will never be able to burn off the surplus in the backup canister if I always like refill one every single time I draw from the system. It's going to eventually overflow. How could I fix that? I could, you know what I could do is use empty or not empty on this canister. Well then again, no, this is a pass-through canister. This is also going to go from empty to not empty constantly. Let me plug this in and think about how this is going to work. There's a few problems I gotta worry about here. I gotta contend with some issues. Okay, so it's gonna go like that. Let me get a second work light so I can have a visual aid. Dude, why the fuck do these things place items in my inventory? Holy shit, that's so annoying, and I can't turn it off because I can't detect when this thing is full. I have to do it manually. Anyways, work lights. Okay, I don't know why I wasn't... Oh, I guess it was blending in. I thought the work light actually wasn't rendering, but it was just blending into the background. Alright, so here's our second hypothetical, like, manufacturing work light. I'll just attach it here and get us a sensor. Okay, and I want the system to be on if the front canister is not filled. So once again, we'll go ahead and do our segment pin voodoo. Stick that right there. Don't have to do that, I just prefer to do that. I kind of find it to be a lot easier. That arm's gonna always be turned on. And then I want the system to be off right now. The problem that I'm anticipating is this right here. I grab a nugget, and I forget to set this to full or not full. Waiting for storage to stop being full. Okay, so I grab a nugget. Yeah, this is going to turn on and then turn off. And that cycle is the thing I want to prevent from happening. I can't have it do that. I want this to only turn on if this thing is not full for like a specific amount of time. Is there a better way for me to detect that? Or am I kind of stuck with just setting up like a weird delay repeater with a logic gate? I really don't want to add an AND gate because that requires a lot of circuitry and I'm going to have to do this like 20 times. So I'm wondering if there's a more elegant way to handle this. It's always going to do this shit. Okay, here's a thought I've got. Well, no, it's not going to work. Because it's not on input mode. I was thinking of putting it on a platform and having it automatically grab a resource, but I can't do that. It needs to be on output mode at all times. I can't think of a way to do this without this always being in output mode. I really fucking wish there was a third setting that was to dispense a nugget, but do not unload that nugget onto the storage. Like, I wish there was an input mode that also would have a nugget right here at all times, and then I could have auto arms grab this nugget. That if I had that, I would not be having the problem I'm having right now. Because I could fill a couple slots to its sides on like a medium platform B, and then I think on the same frame that I remove a nugget from it, it would automatically fill up with a new one. But then again, that might not actually work either. It doesn't register as filled until this one has completely deposited. No, we're not getting around that, I think. Oh no. Okay, what options do I have here? Do we go with this system over here that I think doesn't have that problem? I would really rather use this system. I like this one a lot more than the one that I have up here. because this one is just simpler in general. Fewer auto arms, narrower. It's going to be more compact. And I want this to be compact because there's going to be like 20 things on this, and I want them all to be within arm's reach. Yeah, I need to hydrate. Okay. So the question is, how do I consume a signal for like a second or two? And I don't know that a count repeater is just like the whimsical, magical solution to the problem here. Yeah, I can't see how a count repeater would help. A delay repeater, the way delay repeaters work in this game, even though they don't visually demonstrate it, is when a delay repeater receives a signal, it sets off a delay, and then it fires off at the end of the signal. If it receives a second signal, while the first one is counting, it actually just runs the second signal in the background, behind the first signal. Yeah, there you go, Kai. You happy now? Yeah, it runs the second signal in the background. You can't, like, activate a delay repeater to turn it off. It just ends up queuing up two signals. This is really looking like I'm going to need a logic gate to set this up, if I want to use this system, which almost makes me just not want to do it as compared to the first system. Because logic gates are a pain in the ass in this game. Well, let's go ahead and start on that and kind of see where that gets us. So to make a logic gate, I'm going to need a power sensor, a small battery, 2 power switches. And the question is, what gate are we making? How are we designing this? I want to have a system where I fire off one of these repeaters, like a delay repeater, and then if the first signal is still active when the repeater actually goes and sends off its signal, then we set off the system, because that means that this thing has been empty for long enough to trigger a cycle. That's kind of what I wanted to do here. That is going to be a pain in the ass. Let me set up a storage for this to make this easier. Yeah, this is really why I didn't want to go and do it this way. We'll see. I'll kind of decide which of the two I like the least, and we'll do the one that I dislike the least is the one that we'll go with here. But neither of these solutions are very good. More circuits means more things to go wrong in this game engine, so I'm not too stoked about finding out that something doesn't work correctly, like after I've built 20 of these. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Let's go, let's design one. How's this going? I turned that off. Good job, auto arm. Just place that in my inventory. Go fuck yourself. Let's put one of these here. Okay, so the way I've been doing this is I have a power sensor, a battery, and a couple of these things. And I need to actually connect these while they're not on the storage. Luckily, you can at least do this. For some fucking reason, you can't put the power sensor on the storage. It doesn't work the same way, it seems. Like, it doesn't have these cable plugs, so I think it just is a power sensor for the thing it's slotted onto. I would much rather it just kept the cable plugs, but oh well. So I have to put this on the ground, which is part of why I really don't like making these logic gates unless somebody knows a way to do this without putting it on the ground. Also, every time you pick it up, it just disconnects for some fucking reason. Anyways, here's our logic gate. This thing here is an AND gate, where basically both of these need to be on at the same time in order for this to send an output. So when both conditions are met, this will send an output, and when either condition stops being met, it'll send another output and essentially be turned off. Like if you mess with the wiring in Terraria, that's the way to think about the wiring in this game. Like, states are not stored by the wires. The wires send pulses like the Terraria wiring does, as opposed to Minecraft, which has steady signals. I wish this was like Minecraft, but it is not, so the logic gates are conceptually more confusing because you have to worry about things turning on and off when you send a pulse to them twice. But we'll make do with it, so let's get the segment pin and think about what I need to be doing here. Okay, what am I going to do? I want it to take a second. So I think I'm going to directly attach it to one of these. And then I'm also going to attach it to a delay repeater. Let's see if that works. Don't know if this will work or not. We're going to find out in a second. Set this to... Okay, 25 is about 4 seconds. Luckily I can put that there. Stick it on the delay repeater and stick that on the second one. Now, before, I don't like guess and check, like, for programming or for stuff like this, so I'm trying to think before I even implement this, is this going to work? Like, is this going to even do what I want? So the first scenario, we remove a nugget and the system, the canister stays empty. Like, we don't have enough. We want to turn everything back on. What is going to happen? It's going to activate the delay repeater and it's going to activate this switch. These need to be in the off state, I think, initially. Let me get the state fixed. So it's going to turn this particular switch on. And then a little bit later, the delay repeater is going to turn the other one on. If they are both on at the same time, then we activate the factory. However, if a resource nugget gets put in before the delay repeater goes off, the first switch will turn off, the delay repeater will turn on, and nothing will happen. And then meanwhile, there will be a second pulse in the delay repeater from when this thing got topped off again that will go ahead and turn it off after a short delay. I think this will work. So let's simulate the first scenario, which is I pull the resource off. And there we go. Okay, we're waiting for it to turn the system on. Or is this off? Did I off-sync this? I think I off-synced this. Hold on a second, let me think about this. Empty or not empty? Oh, that's the problem. It needs to be full or not full. That's why it's not working. Okay, so when it fills... Alright, so let's pretend that the system is turned on right now, because that's the state that it would be in. Okay, system is turned on right now. I'm going to go ahead and put a resource nugget in. It's filled, it shuts off the factory, and then this also shuts off after a short delay. Again, this thing is an AND gate, so both of these conditions have to be met. This needs to be empty now. It needs to not be filled right now, and it also needs to not be filled a little bit later when this delay repeater comes through and causes the check to occur by toggling the second one of these power switches. So let's grab a nugget. It's gonna wait a second, and then it's going to turn the factory on. We put a nugget in it. It's going to turn the factory off immediately when it's filled. Now the second scenario is the one that we were worried about, which is if the auto arm is feeding into it constantly. Grab a nugget. Well, okay, nothing was going to happen there. Okay, so the auto arm turned it back off. Yeah, this looks like it's doing what we want it to. So if I grab a nugget out of it, it turns on, the auto arm immediately turns the first switch off, and then the delay turns it on and off again. Now, a question that I have here is, what if I was constantly pulling from this thing? Yeah, it'll still flicker, but I think that's okay, because if I'm constantly pulling from it, I want the factory to run for a little while. I just need to make sure that the factory can handle, like, short pulses like that. If there's a lot of, like, throughput on one of these canisters, we're going to get a feedback system like this, where it turns on and then off and then on and then off again. But at the end of the day, I want it to stay on for a little while if it does that. I could increase the delay here. It's not going to be perfect, I think. I could make this a triple AND gate to reduce the odds of it flickering like that, but as it is now, this solves the basic case of grabbing one resource nugget and then having the factory turn on when I don't want it to be doing that. Now, the other thing I could consider messing with here is detecting whether or not there's anything in this canister during the brief, interval to decide whether or not I want to do something. So we're not necessarily going forward with the logic gate solution. Let me try something that just like occurs to me, might be a little bit easier. Maybe we don't have to do it like this. I would much rather not do the logic gate because I have to build this, or whatever I come up with, for every single resource. And there are 36 resources in the game, approximately 8 of which I think are intermediate products that I wouldn't be storing, so yeah, we're gonna have like 20 something of these. It's kind of a pain. Hello, Captain. Welcome back from your lurk, or whatever it was you were doing. So the question is, can I come up with a version of this that doesn't suck as bad by checking the status of this canister here? Or do I still need to set up an AND gate? Because the other thing I could consider doing here is only turn the factory on if this canister is empty and this canister is not full, which unfortunately is also an AND gate, which means we need to do this anyways. But it might do a little less flickering. He was getting poisonous soup. I don't think I really want to know what he was doing. Watching a better stream. How dare you? Imagine there being a better stream than this one. It's impossible. Like, scientists can't find a better stream than this one. It's scientifically proven, and I'm the scientist that proved it. I mean, I don't have a proof, but my hunch is that I have the best stream that exists, so I mean, I am a scientist after all. I did put the science tag on my stream, so I can't be wrong. Imagine a scientist being wrong. Speaking of being wrong, this is definitely not working the way I want it to. Oh boy. Okay, I might need to think on this between streams, but I would like to get a little bit more done here. So let me see if we can at least work this one out. Again, this is going to be a slow process, and I'm not going to be streaming for too much longer today because I went long with Spelunky, and I don't want to be streaming for more than 8 hours, and my voice is starting to hurt. So we're not done with Astroneer yet, but let me think about this for a couple more minutes, and then there's one more thing I was going to go do. Yeah, it does have the science tag. I mean, that's what I do here. They let you type in tags now. You can just do whatever you want. So I'm like, okay, why not? I'll put a science tag on my stream. Anyways, what do I want to accomplish here? The alternate solution was, what if I detected what was in this canister in addition to this one? The problem is, that's also an AND gate, which I was trying to avoid. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but hello? FN Atomic? I don't know, feel free to correct me, but hello. God, how am I gonna do this? Is there a way that I could do this without an AND gate? I don't want to make an AND gate. I hate logic gates in this game. They're so bulky. Like, I thought it was tedious to do this with Redstone until I played this game and found out this is what you have to build. Your real name is Fernando. I'm not gonna remember you call you that, I'm pretty sure, but hello, Fernando. I mean, what do you like to go by on Twitch, I guess is my question, or do you just go by Fernando? How am I gonna do this? Yeah, I'm drawing up a blank here. I can't think of a way to do this without an AND gate. I wonder then why the system over here doesn't need any logic gates. What's different about this one? Or does it? What happens if this one is running high throughput? Does it also flicker the factory on and off if I have this one running like high throughput? I need to actually test that. Okay, you do go by Fernando. Well, I'll try to remember that. I apologize if I forget. Alright, so the high throughput scenario for this one is going to be where I'm constantly grabbing resources from this canister, but then topping it off at like the same exact time. This is, okay, the circumstances for this I think are a little bit harder to simulate, so it might not be as much of a concern. So I would go ahead and do that. That would turn the factory on. I mean, that would turn it off immediately. I'm starting to wonder if maybe I should make a factory that's just robust enough to not have this problem. Go ahead and grab it. Now this one is more robust. This one's more robust because of the way this canister sits on the side. I to do this. And join if I'm on Xbox. No, this is a solo run, and I'm on PC anyways. I think this game has crossplay, but no, I think you need a dedicated server for the crossplay. But yeah, this is a solo run in any case. I'm not sure if you need a dedicated server for crossplay. I don't actually remember how they set that up. So the factory is hypothetically on right now. I don't know, I could make this one here. I really want to get the version here, the one I'm standing on, to work correctly, but it's looking like I can cut one auto arm out of the system and make it a little narrower at the expense of having to add a big, gross, like, logic gate to prevent the system from toggling on and off constantly. The only other thing I could think to do here is prevent the system from toggling on and off constantly. Or rather, prevent it from caring about that particular interaction. So maybe I'm worrying about something that's not going to matter. And I should start thinking about what the system is going to look like in the back end. So let's think about this for a second. Pretend we don't have this crap, and it's just a direct connection. I'll go ahead and move this storage sensor and grab another one. So the way I would probably want to detect that, it could be like empty or not empty on this canister here, but I mean, I think that's just going to postpone the issue for exactly one item. Like, this canister is going to pick up an item. You know, hold on a second, before I am wrong about this, how does this actually work? Let's go ahead and empty this one out. What happens when this one empties? Okay, it empties out like that. Now the question is, if I put a resource nugget in this thing while it's completely empty, which is going to be a fairly common state. No, Kai, I'm glad you suggested the soundtrack. I just hadn't gotten to it last time you asked about it. You got all upset with me. Like, look, I have a finite amount of time to do this stuff. There's specific circumstances where I could sit down and listen to a soundtrack for an hour and assess whether or not a song is good for a particular stream. I can't just, like, run it in the background while I play Deep Rock Galactic or something. I need to be able to pay attention to it. Okay, that's interesting. Is this double pulsing? Maybe this is actually fine if I just detect this. Maybe we don't need the logic gate. So we want the factory to be turned on right now. And this I think is double pulsing, meaning it's firing off on the same frame a couple times. The work light is not turning on or off. This could be fine. I think what happens here is I put the resource in, and for one frame, the game thinks that it's filled, and then on that same frame, the game thinks it's not filled anymore. Or rather, it doesn't have one item in it. So it double pulses, but it double pulses like instantaneously, which means anything this is connected to is just going to toggle on and off. Let me see what that looks like with the auto arm here real quick. Okay, the auto arm just became erect for a split second. Interestingly enough, that actually gives the auto arm long enough to do one operation. Huh. I didn't actually know that was instantaneous. Well, today I learned. Yeah, so the auto arm, if you pulse it for exactly one unit, like one tick, which I think is a 1/6 of a second, or a 1/10, one of those two things. I think it's maybe a 1/6 of a second. The auto arm actually has enough time. Oh, never mind. Oh, that's bad. I just realized that's what it's doing. Oh, that's bad. It's not sending one pulse. It's sending a pulse every single fucking frame. Okay, yeah, we have a different problem. Hold on, let me get a visual or an audible aid to explain what's going on here. I think I know what's happening here, and it's not good. This is bad. We can't have it doing this. I'm glad I noticed what was happening. Actually, I suppose there was a better way to demonstrate this, but whatever. I like funny noises. Oh god. Oh, that's bad. Yeah, we can't have it be doing that. Every single frame, what appears to be happening here is the canister is like, I'm empty, I'm not empty, I'm empty, I'm not empty, I'm empty, I'm not empty. For the entire duration of time that it is passing through a resource nugget from this state right here. Oh god. Oh, I hate that. That's awful. So it's fine if there is a resource nugget on the output, but if there is nothing on the output and I try to pass an item through this, it's going to do this. I can't imagine that nothing is going to break if I allow it to actually do that. So I need to think about that. How do I fix that? This auto arm, I mean, will always be on. This was just testing it, so... Okay, what do I do in this situation? I could have the auto arm only turn on when this thing thinks it's full, but that's... Maybe I do want to do this. Let's see. Okay, let's try something a little different. So this is going to turn on the arm. And let's start grabbing resources off of this canister. See what the arm does. Okay, that's fine. It turned on the factory because this canister is empty. That's what we want. Except the auto arm is staying off. Okay, I need to think about this for a second. Well, I guess there's no point in turning on the arm because this canister is empty. Basically, I'm trying to keep a nugget in the output slot at all times, because otherwise we get this. So we want a nugget in the output slot constantly, so that it only triggers once when I put a nugget in. Okay, then the factory turns back on. This could actually work, as long as I make sure that this arm is only turned on when there's something in this canister. That'll ensure that I do not have the cacophony when I put something in, because that'll make sure there's always a nugget on the output, because the canister thinks it's empty, even though it has a resource right there, so the arm is off. It's not until there's two resources in this position that the arm will turn back on, turn around, grab the output, and then the factory turns back on. This might actually be fine. And that means we don't need this, which is huge, because I really did not want to have to build this every single time. I think I actually have my proof of concept figured out then. I will most likely go with this one right here. The one I'm standing on instead of this one. This one looks better, but that's because I lined it up. And this one has the advantage that I could just swap this out like that and just use like any storage. This one's much more lenient for how I can compact everything, is kind of the advantage that it offers to me. Because I could just quickly swap it out for a large resource canister if I want to, and it'll work just the same. And then we don't need any of this crap. Yeah, I like this a lot. I like this a lot better. You know, this is why you don't always go with your first idea. Sometimes you can come up with something better, and I was going to go with this idea like 20 times. Yeah, this is the part, I think, where I say I'm going to build more of these off stream, but I'm not sure yet. I don't think we're going to work on this particular thing anymore today, because I do want to end stream soon, and I want to at least get off this planet briefly in case people want to see parts of this game that aren't me staring at auto arms for 2 hours. So we are going to go and do something else. Something that might be interesting to people, so stick around if you're getting sick of the automation stuff. We're done doing that for now. I'm going to do something else. I'm just kind of getting some finishing thoughts on this. Pretty much it would be 2 more auto arms. There would be one over here to pull items off of the main bus, which is probably going to be a train with items on it moving back and forth on a rail. And then over here on this side, there's going to be an auto arm that is going to fill like a sort of display like cabinet sort of thing, where I could pick resource nuggets off of the front face of this medium storage and then bring them over to the crafting area. And then if I set up a automation system, I will probably have an arm underground that can grab items off of it. Like an arm that can literally just pull items through the floor off of this storage rack and like send them over to like a graphite factory or a plastic factory or whatever I need them to do. I don't know if there's a good way to do that particular thing with trains because the trains are just so big. Maybe there's a way to cram them in if I go get more of these sight pylons, because the magic of these sight pylons is I can use them to cap off the train like this and prevent the rails from connecting with each other. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to handle that part of the problem. That's, I think, going to be for a future stream. For now, however, I think we have figured out the storage solution, and what I will probably do off stream is figure out how to compact this and get this into like the smallest space possible. And then I'll show that off like on a subsequent stream, like 1 or 2 of these that I've set up in their permanent positions. And then I'll set up like automation for those particular samples, and then over time off stream I'll probably build the rest of them, because it's just going to take me a really long time to build them and it won't be very interesting. Nobody's going to learn anything new from it. It's just going to be me copying the same build 20 times. But tentatively this is the build that we're going to go with here. Auto arm feeds this canister, which feeds this canister, which feeds an output slot, and we only turn the factory on if this canister has a resource in it. So this is basically an overflow canister. Or rather, we only turn the factory on if this one doesn't have anything in it. So the second we get anything in here, we have a buffer of about 30 items, and we don't have to worry about the system backing up because I accidentally made too many of something. All my snails starved while I was monologuing. Let me go get my terrain tool, and we're gonna go on a little adventure. Where's the thing that has there it is. I need to get my proper terrain tools. Don't need that one, or that one, or that one, and we want the snail. Let's go ahead and feed all these bad boys. You know what, is Soviet here? I may need to do a different adventure. Soviet, are you here? Because I think you're the one that would like this adventure the most, and if you're not here, it kind of spoils the whole point of it. So just, if you're lurking in chat, let me know. Otherwise, I'll go on a different adventure. Either way, there will be an adventure. We're going to leave the planet now and go do something else for a little while before I end stream. But we'll figure out what it is in just a second here. I'm guessing he's not here. He's probably at work or something. Imagine going to work. This is what I get for streaming in the morning. I don't have to go to work. Why does this guy do it? Okay, I think we'll do the alternate adventure then, which is looking for marbles, because why not? However, there is one interesting thing that we could do for this adventure, and that is we don't have to use a rocket to do this, because rockets are cringe. So anybody who hasn't seen this before, you do not have to use a rocket to go between planets in this game. All you need is a couple winches and some ingenuity and a few suicidal tendencies, and you can make anything happen. So let's just hop in our rover here, and I will show everyone a flying machine that you could build from the comfort of your own home in this fantastic, well-programmed video game that doesn't have any bugs or problems with it. So let me think a second here. How do I want to go about doing this? We just fed all the snails, so we have about an hour of time to go dick around and just have a giggle. I think I might, if I'm looking for marbles, we're gonna actually want Usagi. Even though I don't think Usagi's actually going to find marbles because the range is so shitty, you never know. What is Usagi like? Hispine seeds, it's these things. Okay, Usagi, I'm giving you another chance here to help me find marbles. I don't think this is going to happen though, but more or less this is just going to be a bit of a joyride just to show something off before I end the stream here. So hopefully this will be interesting. Stick around for a second if you're curious what I'm about to do here, because it's pretty wild. Fernando, that's what you told me to call you. Thank you for the follow. I remembered. Can you believe it? All right, let's go have an adventure. So, in order to make your very own winch-driven flying machine, you want to get a winch on the front of your rover in a research chamber, because the research chamber centers it. And then you need to attach your winch to this very precise position. Right. It's not like exactly perfect. It's if you're off center, you'll just have a winch that doesn't behave quite right. That should be good. So you'll notice that rover wants to go forward now. And this game is really weird. Rovers are really floaty and finicky, and I don't know why I have a large platform A on this. I don't need that anymore. So let's see, how many RTGs do I have? I got a couple. Yeah, flying space rover. Oh, good. Oh, do we have a connoisseur of space rovers in chat? Have you seen this before, or did you just see it from a previous stream of mine? I think I have yet to have someone show up in chat who's actually used one of these, so I'm thrilled to have you here either way. But I'm curious what your experience is with these things. So before I leave, we have a mullet of packages. We have some hydrazine, a few extra resources. Inoki is a fine snail, but just not very useful for me for what I'm doing here. I feel like I've seen your name before. I'm assuming you've seen me do it, but don't let me pretend that you haven't done this on your own game at some point. I can't believe I'm the only person that's done these. I just think I might be the only person that's done this particular winch setup, because I have a hydrazine rocket over there that does the same exact thing. And I know for a fact people have used hydrazine rovers to fly between planets. Like, that's a thing that people have done before. That ain't a first. Okay, so, very brief demonstration with a shitty MS Paint drawing I drew on like my first stream. This is where the planets are, in space. They're not a flat disk orbiting the sun. Everything you've been taught in school is a lie. They're actually the vertices of an octahedron. We are on Calidor at the south. If I go straight north off of the North Pole of Calidor, I'm going to wind up on Silva. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and do that. Let's go on a bit of a joyride before we end the stream. Maybe we'll find a marble. Probably not. Who knows? All the other planets, as you can see, I've also labeled on this diagram. I have a slightly better text document that'll tell me like where to go exactly off of each gateway. But the gist of it is, we're going from Calidor to Silva, and we're right here. You can't see my cursor, but anyways, we're going to Calidor to Silva, and we're on the side of Calidor that's facing to Solo. Right now, this is how the planets are laid out. Just take my word for it. They're invisible until you get close to them. You saw it on a previous stream. You're so trying it. Just make sure you back up your save before you try it. That's my only warning. So basically, I'm on the equator of this planet. North is in that direction, underneath all the waypoints. So I'm looking straight off the North Pole of the planet right now. If you imagine me looking through the ground, that is north, straight over there where that checker marble is. And Solo is up there where I'm circling my cursor. It's invisible right now. It'll load in if I get close to it. And Silva is off in the north direction right there. And then off to the left and the right are two other planets. I don't remember which ones. And then down in this direction is the last one. And then if I go past Silva, I get to, I think, I don't remember what planet it is. Don't look at that. Visania. If I go past Silva, I get to Visania. So that's the gist. That's like the primer 101 for where the planets are. And I have a rover here that is accelerating forward at all times. And if you put those two things together, you just fly. Like the winch is pulling on the rover. This is literally the troll science meme of the troll sitting in a red wagon with a fishing rod and a magnet on the front, and the troll is pulling themselves forward with the magnet. That is literally what I'm doing right now, except with a winch instead. The winch is pulling the rover forward. And here's my space elevator, by the way, for anyone who didn't see this at the start of the stream. I also have a rail line going from De Solo to Silva, so I could just follow that with my flying machine. So yeah, enjoy the ride. This thing is a lot harder to control than it looks. This is why I recommend backing up your save if you decide to do this yourself. But we're just going to fly through interplanetary space alongside the space elevator, and we're suddenly at Silva because the planets are actually arranged like this. Who would have thought? I don't know what all those wacky astronauts and people at NASA thought they were talking about when they said that the solar system is a flat disk. It's obviously it's not. And we're stuck in the trees, as they do. So let me tow my rover out. This is part of why we have a second winch, is to get it out of trees, because there's no universe where I'm going to be able to fly this thing out of the woods. Now, as far as where we're going, I don't really know. I might just dick around for a little while. Go on a bit of a flight. If I spot any marbles, I'll go ahead and pick them up. And we'll probably go back to Calidor and end stream after that. Bit shorter for the Astroneer segment than it usually is, but again, I spent a lot of time playing Spelunky earlier, and my voice is starting to hurt, so I don't want to be doing this for too much longer for my own sake. Let's get back in the rover here. And we could just go on a little joyride around the planet. And remember, literally all you need is a research chamber, a winch, a large rover, and like an RTG or something to power it. And obviously a rover seat. All the other crap is optional. And you too can get yourself lost in the void of space if you don't know how to control this thing, because it is so difficult to control this thing because the winch is pulling forward at all times, which means this vehicle is accelerating in the direction it's facing, unconditionally. It goes forward. Oh cool, that tree literally just loaded inside of the vehicle. But yeah, this thing literally goes forward. The only way to make it not go forward is to turn around and go backward. So, it's very hard to control. I'm waiting for this tree to despawn. There we go. Let's just go up a little bit higher here. And let's fly to another planet. I don't know which one we're going to wind up on, so it'll be a surprise. Because I've lost orientation here. If I go out in any direction from the equator, which happens to be where this band of stars is in the sky, like this band here. If I go out in any direction from this, I'm going to wind up on another planet. And as long as I don't lose control of my vehicle, I can just land on that planet. Also, that right there is the satellite that you start the game in, like in the main menu. It actually just exists at all times, and you can see it if you have your settings set high enough. Console users might not be able to see this. I don't know if it'll render, but it's there for PC if you set your object quality to be high enough for it to show up from a distance. They may have made it so it shows up to console users as well, I'm not really sure. And I think it does have solid collision, but you can't really do anything with it except like ram into it. Okay, and Glacio. So yeah, we went off in a random direction and we flew into the sphere. Well, it's not a sphere of influence. It's like where the fuck a 3D Voronoi diagram is. I think that's how they decide which planet they're rendering for you. But basically it's a big pyramid extending off one of the 6 faces of a cube surrounding Silva. That's the best way I can describe it. And luckily, since they had a patch, like a little, I wouldn't say a little while ago, but when the snail update came out, they did a patch that moved all the planets closer to Silva. Which, by the way, folks, is why the sticky terrain bug got fixed. They moved all the planets into the arrangement that I showed you earlier. It used to be the planets were just in a big string, like just stacked one on top of the other in the void of space. They moved them into this weird, like, octahedron vertice shape, specifically to fix the sticky terrain issue with planets that were far from the origin. Because it turns out the floating point coordinate system doesn't play very well when you're 8 million units away from the origin. Who would have thunk it? Or however many units away it was. I think it was like 400,000 or something for Aatrox. It was bad. And it's upsetting that it took them that long to figure out how to fix it, because I think I passive-aggressively said that was how to fix it like years ago before I was even a streamer. Maybe the problem was I wasn't a streamer and that's why they didn't hear me tell them how to fix it. Because it was absolutely just a floating point precision problem. So here we are on Glacio. Just look around for a little bit, see if we find anything interesting. And if not, I'll just do a couple more joyrides, see what other planets we wind up on. So if your winches are not cooperating, you could also just do this with your cursor. Because your cursor basically has infinite strength, and you could just grab your rover by doing that. I just need to get it to flip over and stop flying away for a second. Okay, winch, can you stop for a second, please? I need to detach it. Got it. I would like it if I'd stop clipping into the terrain, but this game's physics engine is an anomaly, to say the least. Glacio is unfortunately not very good for driving around because these little ice shelves are just steep enough that you get stuck on them like all the damn time, and it's super annoying. So I'm not too stoked about being here. I wonder if we can go to a different planet. I'm just looking around to see if there's anything interesting on the surface here, but I don't think I'm going to find a whole lot. So I think we'll move on to the next planet here. Oh, I accidentally wound up where the probe was, because I marked it with a beacon. I wasn't even trying to do that. You saw part of the space elevator build. Didn't even know what I was doing at first. Did I use the rover winch glitch to give me... So... Okay, you asked a lot of questions. Or actually, you asked like one question there. I don't know why I said you asked a lot of questions. So here's how that works. Before I even streamed this game... You know, let me go to the void of space and just go on a joyride while I explain this. Before I even streamed this game, I did a little bit of like prerequisite testing to make sure that the things I wanted to do on stream were possible. I didn't know if a space elevator was possible, but I wanted to check the layout of the planets. So I actually did test in creative mode the layout of the planets. Once I saw the update come out where they said that they fixed the planets to fix the sticky terrain glitch, I went and I checked what the layout of the planets was and took notes on it. I'm not sure if anybody else gathered that info by then. Odds are somebody else had already figured that out, but I did figure it out myself by using a rover with hydrazine in creative mode, because you could just fly infinitely in creative mode with a hydrazine rover, which is quite easy to do. Oh hey, it's the Solo. So I sort of scouted it out ahead of time, and I knew which gateways had which planets above them. I have a slightly more detailed document, like in a notepad file off to the side, that is telling me like Gateway 3 has the Solo above it, for instance, if you're on Silva. Like I have a few notes like that. But I did figure out all that information ahead of time. So I did not have to use a rover and a winch to do that. Where am I? Oh, we're at Novus now. Okay, fine, let's go to Novus. But like I did some work. As for the space elevator, I actually specifically did not test that ahead of time because I didn't want to. I wanted to discover it on stream and see if I could figure it out. And that's more or less what I did. The one thing I tested after I had started streaming this game with the space elevator was I specifically had a hunch that I knew how to get the rail lines to float in space. And between like streams 3 or 4, I tested that. By the way, this is not Silva. I forget which streams I tested it between. So this is the fake Silva, by the way. I'm getting derailed here. I'm going on a tangent, if you will. This is the model that renders in space when you're on a different planet. And the game wants to like pretend that you're actually like orbiting Silva or something. I'm actually around a Solo right now, and that is just a fake copy of Silva with extremely low quality to make it look like the Solo is orbiting Silva, when in fact the Solo is not moving at all. So everything you knew about the solar system is a lie. Anyways, for the space elevator, I did not start my streams knowing whether or not it was possible, but I checked between 2 of the streams to see if I could build between the 2 planets without terrain, because I did not want to build a giant ramp for like 2 hours and then have to tell chat, oh, by the way, bummer chat, you can't do it. Like, I didn't want to have that happen, so I did check that ahead of time. I tried a few things and I figured it out. And anyone who hasn't seen it, you should totally check out the space elevator video I made, like the highlight of the drive-through of it, or like the making of the space elevator, if you're curious. It's just like a 4-minute video showing pretty much how I was able to place rail lines in the void of interplanetary space after I built the pillar up to the build limit. Because if you didn't know, this game has a build limit. It's a very high build limit, but you saw it when I was flying off of Calidor to begin with. Like the spot where the space elevator doesn't have a pillar anymore and gets really jittery and jagged, that is the spot where the build limit ended, and I had to start placing rails in space using tall platforms. Like this game is wild for all the wrong reasons. Let's go to the satellite. I think I left the ramp there. Let's go to the satellite, and then I think we'll go back to Calidor and call it on the stream. So the interesting thing about the satellite is, unlike everything else, like Silva over there, that satellite is actually real. Like, if you go on Reddit, like, every single day, somebody posts a new Reddit thread on this game about, like, oh, what is that purple thing in space? Oh, that's so weird looking. What is that? Like, it's the satellite. But it's not the picture of the satellite that orbits the sun. That one actually doesn't even render. I think it's behind Silva right now. Yeah, there it is. That doesn't even render when you're on a planet. That only renders in the planet selector when you're on a rocket. The real satellite, though, just always exists. So I lost track of it because I started flying around. But yeah, the real satellite always exists somewhere in the void of space. I'm looking for it now. There it is. And you could just go to it. Like, it starts rendering once you have unlocked a core of a planet. You do have to unlock Silva's core, first of all. You would have rioted if it didn't work. Yeah, I wouldn't have even, like, proposed the concept of the space elevator if it didn't work, because I didn't want to disappoint people with 2 hours of build-up just to find out if it's not possible to do. But anyways, the satellite is actually always visible, like, once you've unlocked Silva's core, or any planet's core. Technically, it doesn't have to be Silva's. And you can fly to it. It's very difficult to do because the gravity is just always down. And the unidentified satellite is not a planet, if you can believe it, and that means it is very small. So I need to basically snipe this thing with a rover that is extremely hard to control. The real satellite is in your heart? No, the real satellite is just floating somewhere in space. It's actually on my diagram. This is a good time to do this. No, not that one. There, if you look at that, like, you can see where the satellite is. Like, if you kind of follow the dotted lines and pretend that this isn't a shitty drawing in MS Paint, it's kind of between Visania and De Solo is where they put the satellite. But it's always there. I think it's even there when you haven't unlocked the core. It's just invisible, so it would be borderline impossible to land on it. I tried once to land on it in creative mode while it wasn't rendering, and I couldn't do it. Like, I could not find it. I think it still had the gravity, so I knew it was there, but the game was just not drawing the satellite at all. Maybe it's changed. It was a long time ago when I did that, but not something on the to-do list right now, to say the least. So yeah, we're just trying to land on the satellite. Just cause why not? Why would I actually like go here with a rocket or teleporting to it when I could just fly here with a rover when I'm clearly not supposed to be here right now? Pretty good for an MS Paint drawing. I'm happy to hear that, I think. It's honestly, I could have probably drawn it better, but I just literally whipped it up live on stream. It was kind of part of a bit. I'll re-chat in a second here. Let me see if I can snipe this. Okay, we kind of... Yeah, we haven't quite, like, lost control here yet. The way that this works, by the way, is the gravity is always pulling down for a fairly large distance around this thing, and it has invisible walls that extend like a short distance above it. So I'm trying to get just over the invisible walls and then just sort of slam down hard, like right on the middle. And again, this rover is always going forward, and that is the only control scheme I have, is point it in a direction, go forward, and hope for the best. There are no brakes. Okay, we might have it. If I could dive bomb right here, I think we'll have it. The gravity's going to kick in a second here, and we're going to be falling really fast, so hopefully it doesn't clip into it. There we go, and alright, we clipped into it. Well, that wasn't what I wanted, but oh hey. Oh yeah, by the way, this thing, I guess, just noticed that I'm here. You noticed a couple of years ago that you were seeing multiple images of planets. Couldn't all be real. You might have had a glitch or something then that was showing them all, because I mean that's not supposed to happen. There's supposed to always be one of each, and depending on which planet the game thinks you're actually like attached to, it just renders a different arrangement of planets. It's not terribly complicated for them to do this, and these are all just like super low resolution renders of the planets. Like, in fact, I think you can actually see the space elevator on Silva if you go to De Solo, because the blocky-ass space elevator, I built it in such a way that it actually shows up. Oh, you can see it. Okay, this might be really hard to spot on a 720p stream, but you see that little tumor, like, dangling off the bottom of Silva? That is actually the space elevator. Like, the terrain portion of it is right there. I'm kind of trying to circle with my cursor. It's a little bit lumpy. It looks like a couple of stars underneath it. That is the space elevator on Silva's model. And then if I go look at Calidor, hopefully that was enough time for you to see it. Calidor has one too. It's actually easy to see it. Calidor's is looking a little bit more distinct. That line above Calidor is the other end of the space elevator. This one's probably much easier to see. I'll just hold still for a second and let the stream quality show it for you, but I'm following it with my cursor right now. I think you could probably see the Calidor one just barely on a 720p stream. But that's the North Pole of Calidor connecting to the South Pole of Silva. Oh no. Elliot, no, I was about to end raid. I was about to end stream in like 15 minutes. Oh no. Thank you for the raid though. How was it going? What were you up to? Cosine shirtless stream? I already said I am shirtless. I admitted this like when you were here earlier. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not. It is very hot here and I am not wearing a shirt. And chat, you can use your imagination to decide what that looks like. It's really nothing to talk about. I would not consider myself to be particularly attractive in any way. Anyways, oh my god, all the caps lock. Okay, look, you only got to say the message twice, because I'm not stopping now. We'll go on a little bit more of a joyride before I end stream, but my voice is starting to hurt, so I do need to end stream soon. We'll fly to a couple more planets just to show that off, then we'll ride the space elevator and end the stream, is what I'll go ahead and do. So Raiders, you'll get to see a little bit of this video game. And by see a bit of this video game, I mean not the way you're supposed to play this video game, the way I'm playing it. So first I need to unembed my rover from the ground here. So we'll just do that with a winch, as you do. Just give it a second here. It's deciding if it wants to settle down or not. Okay, detach the winch, slap it on the side, flip the rover back over, and there are invisible walls around this satellite that I'm on right now. Bro, I'll yoke to you, no lie. Yeah, I don't know what that means either, Crystal. Beats me. And this here is the result of my first trip to this place. In fact, let me go ahead and get the medium storage off of it. I had to actually abandon one of these large storages to create a ramp to get off of the satellite, because there are invisible walls surrounding this satellite right now. Make planet Booba. I can't. That's not how this works. I can make Booba on a planet. I can't make a planet Booba. That's too big. But anyways, there's invisible walls surrounding this. So I specifically need to go up off the top right now. And luckily we have this ramp here. So if I angle this correctly, we can get out first try. We hit the invisible wall, we're over the edge, and we're out of here. So, let's see if I can find my way back home. And for anyone just checking in from the raid, this is how I play this video game. You're not supposed to do this. In case it wasn't obvious already, I am using physics engine jank to fly this rover around. You are not actually supposed to do this in this video game. If I see you on Discord or playing a game on Steam, it's not you. Oh, right, you're going on vacation or so. I thought you said you were going to stream today, actually. It's all coming back to me now. What are you doing? Alia, why are you being irresponsible? That's my job. I'm supposed to be irresponsible with my time and decision making. You don't have to do that. Go pack. There, I'm just gonna join chat. I'm as bad as your chat. Just go pack, or whatever it is you need to do. Okay, you're not streaming tomorrow. You streamed and you ended stream when you said you would. Not clickbait. Okay, well I believe you. If you said not clickbait, it has to be true. I don't see why anybody would say not clickbait and then lie about it. Alright, there's a planet. So chat, you probably can't see this at 720p. But the rail lines on other planets actually render from literally anywhere in the world. And you can just kind of see some like spaghetti noodles floating in the void of space. So I'm actually going towards a spot right there that I know for a fact has a planet. We're orbiting Novus right now, but we don't want to go there. Novus is a silly place. I'm actually going to the space elevator. There's a line right here where I'm running my cursor. That's the space elevator. You might be able to see this. It's a little bit like jittery looking. That's where we're heading right now. Make boobs on a planet and do like a railway that goes between the boobs up and down. Oh my goodness. I don't have enough soil to do that. I can make little boobs if that would make you feel better. I can't make big ones right now. I need to end stream. I'm hungry. Oh, you see it? Yep, well, you'll see it now. We're getting closer to it. This is the space elevator I pointed out earlier. We're just going to fly along it for a little bit, and then I'm going to touch down, and then I'm going to ride it, and we're going to end stream riding it. Actually, we're not going to fly along it, apparently, because I'm actually touching down now. Do a little litho braking. And I stick the landing. Oh, stuck the landing. Perfect. You don't want small booba. Okay, look. How about we do this in a future stream then? Because you're only going to get small booba if I make booba right now, okay? Like, maybe we could make large booba later. Okay, here's the space elevator, as seen from a flying machine. Both of the things that you see on screen right now, chat, are extremely illegal. You are not supposed to be able to do either of these things in this game. Like, this part is fine, like building a pillar, but I'm going to go past the build limit with this space elevator because, I mean, why would I stop at the build limit? I could just place the rails in space. You get a Bob job in the future. And what does that have to do with the size of the booba when I build them for you? Just stop chatting? I don't know, that might be a good idea. But anyways, the space rail gets a little janky. And then we go back to building solid terrain, and then I have a pillar again. So that was essentially the size of the space elevator, as seen from a pretty fast flying machine, by the way. So it doesn't really give you a proper appreciation for the scale of the space elevator, so we're going to ride it before I end the stream. In fact, I think we're going to ride it as I end the stream and I decide who I'm going to raid. So one last time, we're going to fly back to Calidor, and then get on a train and go on a little adventure, just a little ride. And then I'm going to end stream so that Alia has no choice but to go pack, because there will be nothing else to do and there will be nobody to ask to draw a booba. You can definitely see it here, chat. Those are the rails on Calidor, just rendering from another planet. Like, this game is very strange. I don't know why the rails render from literally any distance, but I'm glad they do, because they are a very good beacon to go to another planet. They sometimes, I think, don't render immediately when you load your save, but if you go to the area that has the rails, they seem to just stick around for the remainder of your session. That's been my understanding of it. So yeah, you can see the Calidor rails. My base is right over there. There's one that goes to the core, and then Calidor actually loads in where the rails are. So the whole solar system of this game is just a lie. And really just remember where the planets are, and you can do dumb shit like this, and it's loads of fun. I would highly recommend trying it. If you play this game, just back up your save, because the first time you do this, you're not going to know how to control this flying machine, and you're probably going to get lost in the void of space. And if you get lost in the void of space, the space kraken eventually kills you and deletes your vehicle, which I'm not going to show off on this stream. That'll be an activity for the future, to show off the space kraken. It's not an actual kraken, it's just a floating point precision error that deletes your rover when you go too far away from the origin. It's not as interesting as I'm making it sound. Something slightly different usually happens every single time, but it generally just results in you dying. It might crash your game, I think, is one of the outcomes, but usually it just deletes your rover. This is not a very good landing. Hey, a horn. Give me that. Let's add that to my hoarding problem real quick. Alright, so the space elevator's over there. Let's go back to the home base, ride the train, and then we'll end things off there. Oh, beautiful. Come on, let me flip it over. There we go. Alright, we're back home. Just carefully drive to the parking area. Why does this slightly remind you of Terratech? I don't know what Terratech is. Is that a game or something that has like this kind of like rendering? Oh, by the way, for anyone who hadn't seen it, this is supposed to be on a different planet. Like the rover over, not the rover, the Eagle lander over there. I moved it to this planet with a flying machine. This flying machine, to be precise, the one here with the hydrazine on it. Like, you can bring the rovers between, or the probes between planets if you didn't know that. You're not supposed to. Like, there's a lot of things you're not supposed to do here, but this one I actually have a command for because I'm really proud of this one. So if you want to see how I got that over to this planet, check that out. It's like 4 minutes long. It has interstellar music. Honestly, there's no reason not to watch it. You should just stop watching my stream right now to watch that highlight instead. It's probably better than what I'm about to do. But yeah, that's how I got this thing over to Calidor. I towed it through space with a flying machine. Because, I mean, why would I not do that? Alright, so anyways, what the hell is going on with the cable connection on this thing? Okay, that's kind of cursed. What is this connected to right now? Did that work? Did that detach it? Okay, I detached it. I don't know what was going on with that. Alright, then we got the space elevator, so let's see if we can get some fitting music, and I'm going to just kind of do my outro and raid, like, as I'm riding the space elevator. So, let's see what we got here. Just listen to odd snail noises while you wait. I mean, it is an elevator. Alright, folks. Let's wrap things up here. So, who is on? Who can we raid to wrap up this fine stream? Meanwhile, we'll just let the camera do its thing. I'm tabbed out right now, looking to see who's online at the moment. See if anyone's playing Spelunky. Any familiar names? Oh, Neosa. Oh, they were here earlier. Oh, we got John From. I've never raided Neosa. I think I'll do that. I've got a Spelunky streamer who I don't think I've ever actually watched, but you know what? They were cool chat members, so why not? Let's do that. As we go up the space elevator, I'm gonna time this to make sure that the raid doesn't kick in until the end of the space elevator ride for anyone who hadn't seen this. So I'm gonna stall for a little bit first, and then we're gonna do it. So here's my Discord. This is the part where I shill this. I send stream announcements there. I sometimes post things that are interesting. And there's clips and stuff. I don't know. Go to my Discord. Every streamer has a Discord. You know that I'm legit because I have a Discord channel, right? Okay, I need to get the camera back under control. This is... Alright, we're tabbed back in, sorry. Anyways, while we do the scenic route... There you go check out my Discord server. Honestly, I don't even care if you just mute every channel and listen to the announcements. That's fine. I don't know, I'm in like 60 Discords and I usually do that. So you can check that out. I stream Spelunky, I stream Astroneer. I have been sort of branching out into new games like every now and then. I stream some Deep Rock Galactic. I think after Astroneer I'm going to either be doing a Terraria or an Oxygen Not Included playthrough. So you can look forward to that when the time comes. But I don't know. I try to do science as well. I try to take a more like scientific-minded approach to playing games. I look to see like where can I break things? Where can I do shit that the developers didn't want me to? And that's how we end up with stuff like this, or like a 5-hour Spelunky segment where I wrote a bot specifically to do a frame-perfect jump, just to see if I could. Because that's the kind of nonsense that I do here. This is what happens when you're a software developer with no job and a lot of time on your hands. You start wasting your time doing dumb shit like this. Like you did, thank you for the follow. I don't think I thanked Chaos Eden, thank you for the follow as well. I'm going to kick off the raid now, and then when we get to Silva, we'll go raid Neosa, and we'll call it on the stream. It'll be a rare cosine stream that didn't go for 10 hours, but I do want to stream for shorter hours, but more frequently. I have not been doing a very good job of that, but that's what I've been attempting to push for. I think that's better for people watching, and it's better for me, because my throat hurts right now because I've been talking for 8 hours. So I definitely need to go like eat something after this and relax for the rest of the day. That said, though, it's been lots of fun. I always appreciate having people in chat, asking questions. I hope this stuff is interesting to you. Don't hesitate to just ask if you don't understand something or you want to see me do something cool. I'll say no if I can't do it or if I don't have an answer to the question. I'm not going to be upset with you. So, like, if you see something in any of these Astroneer playthroughs that doesn't make any sense, just give it a shot. I'll be more than happy to explain it to you. I love sharing this kind of knowledge about these games. We're almost done here, and I think the raid is going to kick in about 30 seconds. What languages do I program in? Can I get this out before the raid? Professionally, Java and... Let's see, definitely Java, probably C# and Lua at this point as well. Passively, I can program in most common languages, so things like C, C++, I'm a little on the weak end for. Not like weekend, like weak as in not very strong. And then JavaScript is sort of in the middle. And then a lot of other stuff like HTML is sort of a programming language. I'm moderately proficient with those. But I tend to pick up on them fast. We're about to raid by. Okay, I mean, maybe not everybody went to the raid, but you know what? Enjoy your non-raider exclusive content. I'm ending the stream now. Okay, bye.